everybody. Welcome to Directly to You. This is the 57th one. I have returned from the land of PAX, the East one, the one in Boston. I am joined. Who am I? You may ask. I'm AJ. And I'm joined by Parker.
What's up?
How you doing, Parker?
Doing great.
It doesn't matter right now because we had to get through housekeeping stuff. And you know what housekeeping stuff is, Parker? It's the stuff that keeps the mics on. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And you can help us keep the mic on by becoming a member on youtube.com/fanatics4 for $4.99 whole cents. What do you get for that? You may be asking me and yourself and also Parker. Well, you get exclusive emotes. You get loyalty badges, so you can, like, every time you comment, we see, you've been a member for however many months and or years. You get gaming time with us. I was just playing Smash Brothers with Falcon again. Apparently, that's a weekly thing. Every Thursday or Wednesday. Usually, it's Wednesday that I play Smash Brothers with Falcon. And you also get other stuff like gaming keys when I have those. I have one, but Parker took it. True. Not because he asked for it, but just because I saw him tweet somebody about it. And I was like, hey, I have that game and I'm not going to touch it. So I sent it to Parker.
I started playing it. I'll tell you about it when we talk about what we were playing about.
We can do that right now because I'm done. Oh, wait, there's the Anchor Listener Support Program. But I mean, like, let's just be real. You'd be better off just doing it through YouTube. Anyway, what's up, Parker? How you doing?
Hey, doing great. Yeah, we'll have a video on YouTube this week, I guess, for this. Because last week, so what happened last week? Your audio, your files disappeared or something weird?
Yeah, so my computer updated and like everything on my desktop is just gone. So like I have this whole Fanatics 4 folder that has like all of the assets and all the thumbnails and all the thumbnail templates and everything, all the stuff. And that folder is just gone. And I had I have a backup of it, but I was in Boston and I didn't have that hard drive on me, so I just couldn't do anything about it. So that's why that happened. And I'm probably just going to rebuild that folder so I can like reorganize it and make it better anyway.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like now, like I've reorganized because before it was like literally every thumbnail in just one folder, and the only way that they were like categorized was I would put like a I don't know, like a 2-letter thing of like, this is an action point. So the title of the thumbnail starts with AP, and then for eShop Windows, EW, and so on and so forth. Now I just have everything separated into 3 different folders where it's one it's going to be 4 after today, where it's one for my videos, one for your videos, and one for Logan's videos. So yeah, my computer exploded helped with one thing, and that's organization.
Well, good. I'm glad it'll be back in any case. Sorry that happened last week. That was kind of crazy.
Yeah, it sucked, but like, what are you gonna do, man?
True that. But yeah, I've been doing pretty good. Yeah, so the game that you get, well, I got a couple of games to mention things about. One of which was at lunchtime today. I got to finally try out Splatoon 2.
Oh, damn.
First time in forever. And yeah, it was good. It was, so I just played some of the single player stuff, and I am not great at it, just as far as like, it's one of those where like, I know it's not clunky because everybody else plays it and has a great time and does really well. So it's just that I'm not accustomed to it yet at all.
Yeah, but you just got to get used to the mechanics. That's what the single player campaign is for, really. Is just so you get used to like the triangle of gameplay of like shooting ink, swimming ink, refill ink, to shoot ink, to swim in ink, to, you know.
I mean, and that's what ideally single players of multiplayer games should be. Like, that's kind of one of the things for Smash Ultimate, is that the single player it doesn't really do a great job of training you for stuff, because it gives you all these buffs and like giving you opportunities to do things you won't be able to do regularly. So like, you know, you can just cheese. I mean, it does a good job trying, and like you do get better at the mechanics and stuff. But as far as like competitive stuff goes, it's, you know, it's not going to train you for any of that stuff.
I mean, it's definitely not going to do that.
Yeah. But no, yeah, Splatoon, it was fun. I will stand by if they ever put out, I mean, I'll just keep playing it here and there and trying it out. And if I get better at it, then cool. And we'll see about that. If they ever put out the like Splatoon 2 plus the DLC for $60, then I'll definitely get it, because then I'll just play all the single player stuff, and who cares if I even touch the campaign bit or the multiplayer bits, because like I don't know if I will. Just because I don't touch multiplayer in Smash really, or online stuff. And
how dare you? How dare you?
It's just, I just don't really care too much.
How dare you?
So I did that, and that was fun. But then, I started playing Overwhelm, which was the code that you sent over. And so if whoever's listening, you haven't seen stuff about it, you can look it up. It's pretty straightforward, but also it's got some unique twists that are pretty fun. It's like a really it's like a red monochrome game, so kind of like how the Game Boy is just like different shades of green and black and white. This is different shades of red and black and white, and it's like super just like 8-bit but kind of a dark aesthetic, so it's almost like a horror kind of aesthetic. But you're on, I don't know, like it's the Hive, and you're a guy who's trying to stop the Hive. It's like an alien invasion sort of a thing, or something like that. And you hop down there, and there's 5 different crystals that you're supposed to get in this world. But the basic premise is each one of those has a boss associated with it. And so you go and fight that boss. And then once you've beat them, then all of the enemies in the world get some kind of power up, depending on which boss you beat first. So then you have to keep that crystal and go to another boss, and then keep that crystal and go to another boss, and that kind of stuff. So essentially you just have to beat to beat the game, you have to beat all 5 of the bosses in there as the world gets progressively more and more difficult. So it's not like a huge sprawling world or whatever, but it's really hard. So I managed to beat the first boss a couple of times, but then getting from there to the second boss is a lot harder than getting to that first one. And but again, you can kind of pick what order it's in. So if you're up for like challenging stuff like that, and you can shoot things, it's kind of twin stick shooter-ish, but you can also like punch stuff and whatever. So definitely look it up if you're into something that's kind of retro-y and difficult, because that's what it is. So do you think
that that's going to end up being like one of the, like, at least for this year's like standout indie games, or is it like...
I don't know. I don't really think so necessarily. It's not a big, because it really, unless it turns out there's more in the end, it looks like it really is just this one kind of small-ish world, and it's just a challenging thing. So it's fairly bite-sized, other than that it's just hard. So you're just going to have to, try it a lot of times until you finally get it. But then once you get it, it's probably... it's kind of like Kamiko in that sense, where it was a cool game, but it's pretty short, so it just doesn't feel like this, amazing experience like Celeste was, where it feels like, this whole big world that you're kind of going through as you play the game. So, I don't necessarily know if I'd say that, but I think it's kind of niche or whatever, but whoever enjoys it, I think will enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, the reason I ask is because that team that like publishes Pop Agenda, they've been on a roll with what they choose to publish, because like the first game that they published was The Messenger. Oh wow! And now they're publishing Cuphead, so it's like it seems like they only go for the big ones. You know what I mean?
It's definitely going to be a good one, but I don't know if it'll be a big one necessarily. It could be though. I don't know. I mean, I've only played it for probably all of 20 minutes or so far, so. Who's to say?
Gotcha. Yeah. I'm still waiting on Cuphead. Granted, I'll play that game. It's a good game. If you play, go get Cuphead when it comes out.
I showed it to Ashley, or showed her the trailer, and she's like, "That looks awesome. We should get that, and I could play it too." And I was like, "You can definitely try." I mean, she doesn't play games barely at all. Yeah, and I was like, "We can definitely try." It's really tough, and she's like, "Okay, well then you can play it, and I'll watch." And I was like, "Okay, I'll probably die a ton too." So.
Probably. Me and Bob played it, not this year at PAX, strangely enough.
Interesting.
But last year at PAX, we played it. It was at a party. The party wasn't good, so we were like, let's just play Cuphead. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Speaking of PAX, how was PAX?
PAX was good. I had fun. Did a lot of stuff. Saw people. Signed things, which was interesting.
Nice.
Didn't expect that. But it's a thing I did. I didn't play that much because like I wanted to go to the Nintendo booth and like cover all the stuff that they had there, but turns out a whole bunch of people came out of nowhere, and the only like window that they had for appointments was on Sunday, and I had a flight on Sunday, and I didn't want to put like schedule stuff on that day, so I didn't get to play anything. But most of the stuff that like their big thing there was Yoshi, and I have Yoshi. They sent me that already, so I was like, eh. And also Cuphead, which I emailed Pop Agenda about that, which is what made me think of that when I brought that up. And apparently they're like swamped or something because the guy was very confused because I emailed about Cuphead and I was like, hey, you guys sending out any more codes for that game? And then he sent me code for Overwhelm, and I was like, all right. I was like,
that's really funny.
So yeah, I mean, they're going to send it to me, but he said that they're sending them out closer to when it comes out, which I think is like next week or the week after that or something.
It's the 18th, so whatever that is, I don't know.
Yeah,
something.
So yeah, I'll play that and report back and see if it's the same as it is on Xbox, which apparently it is. From when they sent out the first burst, because they sent it out like the day of the showcase.
Yeah, I saw definitely some people playing it online at that point.
Right. But outside of that, just did a whole bunch of like the stuff with like Bob and Will, because they did like a panel. I was on that, or I was with them there. They did a meet and greet. They did Bob did this tournament that he got destroyed in for NES games. Didn't do very good.
Nice.
The only thing that he did all right in was Dr. Mario, which props because he never played it before, and the only time or like any like real amount of time at least.
What all NES games were they playing that he got destroyed in?
It was hockey, Dr. Mario, and Balloon Fight. I missed Balloon Fight, but apparently he got destroyed in that.
So it was like actually competitive games. I mean, like multiplayer games.
It wasn't like speed run sort of situation,
right?
But literally, there was probably 2 people in the tournament that ever even touched those games before. There was not real thought put into that tournament. It was just like, hey, you're at PAX and you have a following, so why don't you play this game? It wasn't like, oh yeah, you're known for this, so you play this,
Yep.
Like if it would have been a Super Mario Brothers speed run sort of situation, maybe Bob would have done well.
Yeah.
But it was just random NES games. So yeah, that happened. I saw him play. I played one thing. I played the Shovel Knight Smash Brothers mode.
How was that
whole thing? I don't like it.
Cool.
It's like, I don't know. It just seems like the mechanics don't really seem like conducive to Smash Brothers sort of thing. And then like how it's set up isn't really about that, Where it's like, it's not like, oh, I just took this many stocks from you or whatever. Like you're fighting to get these gems, and the first person to get 5 gems wins. Apparently Shovel Knight is OP because Will picked Shovel Knight, and he never played Shovel Knight before and won every single game that we played.
Nice.
So if you're going to get that update, pick Shovel Knight. Yeah. Apparently. But outside of that, just hung out, ate food. We went to a Bethesda thing for Rage 2. Didn't play it because it was not relevant to my interests.
Yeah, right. When is that coming out this year?
I think so.
Huh. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that makes sense. They announced it last E3, I think, or Walmart Canada announced it, and then they did that whole thing. Nice. Have you been playing any Yoshi? I just remembered that came out last week. Yeah. #
free game product provided by Nintendo. I like that game a lot.
Yeah.
And I like that was like the ideal trajectory for that game because I was like down on it when they first announced it, kind of like I was down on Kirby, but I was proved wrong this time.
Right.
So it's like I tweeted about it yesterday, the day before yesterday. Where there's just so much in this game that's like, it's not hard, it's not Super Meat Boy or whatever, it's not Dark Souls,
right? But
it's interesting. It's not just, hey, you're Yoshi, so do the Yoshi thing all the time, and every level is the same, shoot eggs at stuff, and that's it. So
yeah, and there's something about the way it does. I mean, it does collectibles kind of the more traditional collectathon type way, but something about it compared to how Kirby Star Allies did it too, like for some reason with the puzzle pieces, it didn't make it feel like you got 3 out of the 7 puzzle pieces for this stage or whatever, which is more the traditional thing. But instead it was just like, oh, well, here, you got some puzzle pieces. We'll add them to a big old puzzle. And the puzzles were kind of felt irrelevant. Like it wasn't like you were working towards something. It was like, just grab those if you want to. Whereas with the flowers are more important, like it feels like, oh, well, I should get as many flowers as I can now so I don't run out later, or whatever. So it feels like you're being productive.
And even without the flower aspect of it, like just progressing through the level requires you to do more with the mechanics than just jump to the next thing,
right? And slash some things, and absolutely,
right. So like that level that I tweeted about with the magnet, like that was just a part of the level. It wasn't for any type of bonus. It was just getting through the level. You need to engage with that mechanic to progress.
Yep.
And I just recently beat, like, there's this airplane level that it's like how you control the plane is like a seesaw sort of situation. So like when you're in the middle, it stays level.
Yeah.
And you go towards the back, it moves up. You go forward, it goes down.
Yep.
And that's how you progress through that level. And then there's like another thing or there's a couple levels with Poochie, and like Poochie is like invulnerable. So you can like swim through lava and stuff like that. So you have to like guide him to help you through the level. And like just stuff like that. There's a lot of things within the Yoshi levels that are just, hey, here's a new thing. Do this.
Yeah. It's really fun. Ashley and I have been playing it and just having a really good old time. And I like the pace that we're playing it at too, where I think we'll probably, like, I don't know, we've played we haven't gotten up to the airplane level. We just did the Mauser level and maybe one after that or so. So probably played like 10 levels so far. So it's just like 2 or 3 a night for the couple nights that we've played it. But I don't know. It's fun. And the world is interesting, and like there's just a lot of little extra secret things where you're like, the whole thing of like, I wonder if I do this, if that'll maybe do such and such, and it does. Like in Mario Odyssey, like if I throw my hat at this thing, will I get some coins from it? And then you just do, because they want to reward you for doing stuff. And again, Yoshi, same kind of thing. Like that thing in the background looks like I could maybe throw an egg at it, and you throw an egg at it and you get coins. And it's like, there's barely any use for these coins. I mean, there actually is use for coins, which is nice. But it's just fun to feel like, they noticed, they paid attention and purposefully made that thing be there.
Right.
And it's just fun.
It's a good game. If you didn't get it, you should get it.
Yep. Agreed. But yeah, that's about all I guess I've been playing some more Ys 8 now that I finished the game from last week, Windscape. But yeah, been hopping back into Ys 8 and having a great old time with that as well.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. I've been playing, guess what? Smash Brothers.
You don't say.
So this whole trip, we were like fighting to play Smash Brothers. We tried to play it the first day. Didn't happen because PAX, like all the connections going on, the local wireless wasn't having it, was not down.
Yeah.
The second, I think, matter of fact, it was the same day. We tried to play it again because at Nintendo's booth, they had like this giant screen and they like just people were coming up and playing Smash Brothers, but they were like calling people in the crowd and they wouldn't call me because they were terrified. So I didn't get to play it there. But we finally got to play it during the stream, and it's so wild playing that game locally because it really is a major difference. It's a huge difference. And I was when we were playing, I was telling Bob, I was like, yo, this is like taking the training wheels off. And Bob's like, yeah, right, that doesn't do anything, blah blah. He lost every match after he said that. So it was like, it was wild. So
that's great. I did watch a good bit of that stream, and it was fun.
Yeah, Bob got effing wrecked, dude. I had to start picking other characters. I had Will picking my characters.
Nice. I did see one. There was one time that he beat you right, I don't know, pretty close to the beginning or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, would you get nervous? But I knew you weren't really.
Yeah, no. That was like in the beginning when we were just like picking whoever for the most part. Like I picked Pokemon Trainer and Inkling, and then for my third character, it was like, I don't play as this person, but they're cool, you know? But then once I picked Pokemon Trainer, and then Inkling, and then King K. Rool, who I play as, I destroyed them. And then after that, it was just a thing of like, okay, I'm getting the hang of this new timing where the game, I'm not playing in molasses anymore.
Right, you're not playing towards lag.
Yeah, so it's like a whole new thing. It's a whole new world. I was singing, you were there.
What a great time.
What a great time. If you didn't see that, there's a VOD. You can go on their channel and check it out.
True. Very true.
But yeah, PAX was fun. 10 out of 10 would go again.
And probably will.
Most likely.
Uh-huh. Cool.
Next is too many games, though. We'll probably, if we're going to try to get them to do a doubles tournament.
Are you going to too many games?
Yes.
Nice. When's that?
I don't know. June or July.
Nice.
One of those.
Dope. So there will be a bunch of games there that probably. Well, no. Is that a thing?
It's not.
Okay,
it's
that's
like
more
a
like
retro. You go there to buy games and play games, but not like new games.
Yeah, not like the PAX or E3 type situation where you get to demo stuff.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right.
Dope. Well, that's about it for me. Anything else you've been playing or want to talk about on that front?
Nah, I played Captain Toad on the plane train.
Captain Toad's cute.
Yeah, I still didn't get to the extra levels yet, though.
I think that
the plane ride was not that long. It was like 50 minutes.
Oh wow, yeah.
So I was like, I got through the main game, and then I was like, well, it's over now. I can't play the DLC because I have to get off the plane.
Yep. That's one. Whenever we finish up Yoshi, I think Ashley and I will play through Captain Toad and see what she thinks of that, because I think she'll have a grand old time.
Yeah, she'll probably like that. I need to check out the co-op stuff too.
Yep. Well, nice. Well, do you want to get in the news bits?
Sure.
Nice. This week, like most of what we're talking about, is rumor type things or leaks or whatever. So that's always fun. Lots of speculation and whatnot. So yeah, here we go. Some of this stuff, also just to note, we're recording this on Thursday instead of Friday. So if anything happened on Friday before we put this up on Saturday, then we didn't know about it.
Mike Tyson confirmed for Smash Brothers.
I did see that. That was really funny. Because what was it? He was just, he probably saw, I guess, that the NES Punch Out was coming and got confused.
Yeah, that's what I think. Some people are saying that, like, he knows about it coming there.
Nah.
Like, that's not what he's mad about.
No, he's not paying that much attention.
Information. Like, all right.
Yeah, no, if he did, he'd have NDAs and all that stuff. And also, he's not like, no. If that happens, cool. Like, but no, I very much doubt that he knows about a new Punch Out game.
Yeah, something just tells me that somebody was like, hey, they put your game on there and you're not in it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, well, cool. So the first one, though, is a leak of sorts, and it's the Best Buy Direct from, 2 days ago now or so, or maybe it was yesterday at this point. I don't know. It was, so they listed Persona 5, Metroid Prime Trilogy, and A Link to the Past for Switch on their internal systems, and some employees took note of it and pointed it out. And that's really weird for some. Well, the Persona 5 and the Metroid Prime Trilogy bits kind of make sense, and The Link to the Past is super bizarre. What are your initial thoughts on it?
I want that. I want them to do the whole Link's Awakening sort of situation with Link to the Past, because that's like the best one. That was like, it was between that and Wind Waker before Breath of the Wild of like what was my favorite Zelda game. And if they remake it, I would be down.
Indeed. I guess even before I go more into Link to the Past too, any specific thoughts on Persona 5 or Metroid Prime Trilogy as well?
I don't care about Persona 5. I'll probably play it because just to be informed, I guess. I'll probably.
But you love turn-based RPGs, AJ.
Oh my god, I'll probably try it. I won't promise that. I'm definitely not going to finish it. That's definitely not going to happen. Yeah. Mark my words on that one. But I'll check it out, I guess. As far as Metroid, I'm definitely playing that. I'll play all three of those games.
Yeah.
Because it's been a while since I played Metroid Prime, and I dip in and out of those games. I don't think I've ever finished one of those either. So it'd be nice to finish all 3 of them on the Switch.
Should be pretty easy to do it on the Switch, just because you can take it with you all sorts of places and whatnot, as the Switch wants to do. But yeah, the Persona 5 thing, I saw, I don't know, somebody, maybe it was Stealth, tweet out, like, at this point, if Persona 5S isn't Switch, like, Atlas didn't really do anything wrong, but people are going to be super mad at them. Like, if it doesn't come, then that would be, and I was like, yeah, that's a pretty good point.
It just doesn't make any sense for them not to do it unless they, like, Sony financed that game,
right?
Which I don't even think that's the case. Like, it just doesn't, nothing's adding up on that front.
I mean, and I think too, there was an interview that went up. It was an interview from like January, but it just aired or went up or whatever today or yesterday or so, with somebody from Atlas, and they asked specifically like, hey, and is Persona 5 coming to Switch? And they pretty much just avoided the question, which if it was like a super exclusivity deal kind of thing, I don't think they would have let the rumors go that long anyway. But especially in that interview would have been like, no, of course it's not coming to Switch because it has an exclusivity agreement with PlayStation and Sony. So that said, yeah, it makes too much sense at this point for it not to, especially, I mean, with all the stuff happening that, you know, we're getting Joker in Smash and all that.
Yeah.
So
like, some people were saying like, oh, but what about Persona Q2? He's in that, so that's why. Like, yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah. I mean, that's like if I don't know. I mean, Cloud came to Smash way before he came to before Final Fantasy VII came or whatever. But if the only reason he came was like he was also like they put him on a, I don't know, Final Fantasy pinball game or something like that. They're like, ta-da!
There was a Final Fantasy game that came out around that time on the 3DS that was akin to a Persona Q2 sort of situation. It was like an amalgamation of like all the Final Fantasy characters.
Was it like a Chocobo kind of thing? Or maybe not?
It was kind of like a Monster Hunter-ish.
Oh, interesting.
Like Final Fantasy game on the 3DS. It was...
So that was kind of the excuse everybody was given at that point too?
Yes. I mean, well, that was basically what they were saying. Oh, that's why, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, I will find out for sure this month. If Persona 5S isn't for Switch, then I guess probably it won't happen. But I will be finding out on the 24th or the 25th or whatever. But yeah, Metroid Prime Trilogy, that one, I mean, it's been talked about forever. But it also would make sense that they had delayed that from... You know, if they were going to put it out earlier this year, assuming they thought that Metroid Prime 4 was probably going to come out this year, if everything was on track and they didn't have to do everything they did, then Metroid Prime Trilogy, they have wanted to put out earlier in the year. But at this point, since they've got more breathing room for Metroid Prime 4, probably they're just trying to put it as more of a tentpole release towards the end of the year, I guess.
Right.
Something like that. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's something that you want to put out in advance, you know, because it's not like the game disappears once they put it out. So like they could always be like, hey, here's this game and you had plenty of time to finish it before Metroid Prime 4 comes out.
Which is probably, I think for the best anyway. Yeah.
And then when Metroid Prime 4 does come out, they can be like, oh, hey, remember we got that trilogy?
Yep.
And it's $10 off. Go get it.
It's still, I think the timing between Bayonetta 1 and 2 and 3 is kind of surprising to me still, that they did it so much in advance to where it's going to be kind of, it's just an afterthought that Bayonetta 1 and 2 are on Switch at this point, besides them kind of, using some of that hype. But whatever, who cares, But it's the same thing. They could always do that same thing. Absolutely.
Like, hey, Bayonetta 3, here's it is. And if you haven't played our game yet, they're both here. $10 off. Go get it.
Yep. For sure. So yeah, I think, again, those two totally make sense. But yeah, the Link to the Past thing is definitely the interesting one. I feel like there's a couple different things that it could, the one obvious thing that it could be is just some kind of mistake. I mean, Wario64 pointed out that probably it isn't a mistake in that, like, they meant to put in Link's Awakening, but they put Link to the Past because they already have Link's Awakening in there. But that's not to say it couldn't technically still be some other kind of mistake. theoretically.
I think that like it would have been gone by now though.
Yes, right.
Because they took it off of one part of their like listings, but kept it on the other. So like if it was a mistake, I feel like they would have just completely nuked it. But they did not.
This is like they took it out of holding in front of you and just kind of put it in their back pocket, like, oh yeah, no, sorry, that's gone, or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, you didn't see anything.
I think. I mean, yeah. Again, like you said. So if assuming it's not a mistake, then our other options are that it's either some kind of remake, some kind of just like they release it as randomly, like they would a physical indie game or something like that, where it's like, here's, Link to the Past for some reason, the SNES game for $30 in physical form. Happy Sunday or whatever. Like
that would be so weird.
It would be very weird.
That to me would be the strangest thing, because a lot of people are like, why would they release that the same year as Link's Awakening? Because they always do that. This would not be the first time that Nintendo released 2 Zelda games in a year. Like 50 Zelda games is on Wii U, and half of them came out on the same day.
I think, yeah, it all kind of depends on timing too, because I was imagining beforehand that Link's, oh man, hang on, okay, this is a bit, I hadn't thought of this specifically until just now, and maybe other people have, but Link's Awakening is like a smaller scope, Zelda type game. It's going to be awesome. I'm very excited about it. But as like a top-down 2D Zelda or whatever, it's just a smaller scope game, just by nature of it. But right. So what if I was thinking that was going to come out at the end of the year as like a big holiday release? But what if that game actually comes out, like we find out it's August or something like that. So late summer, something along those lines, and it's a fun game but not like crazy huge, and A Link to the Past is actually a full like Link to the Past remake in Breath of the Wild engine. Even
I doubt that. I think that I think they're probably both going to be along the same lines if they do it
right,
along the same lines of what Link's Awakening is. And I do think that Link's Awakening, at least, I don't know if like Link to the Past is going to be a 2019 game, right? Could be 2020 for all we know. But I think that that's going to be their holiday game, or one of them, because we already know there's a lot of holiday games.
I think because that's the only thing. Like if it is a remake and it's very similar to Link's Awakening, I couldn't necessarily see them putting out 2 of a very, very similar game in such a short time span. Even if they've done that kind of a thing before, I don't know, for some reason it just feels like they've already got a crowded, holiday 2019 kind of time. So putting both of those out, if they were similar to each other, wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. But if they were somehow really different from each other, then that would make more sense, is what I was kind of thinking. But yeah, if it's a 2020 game, then that clears that up right away pretty much too.
Yeah, I mean, either way, I think it's possible, because I don't, like, neither one of those games are giant.
Right.
So, and also they're both Zelda games. I don't know too many people that's like, you're giving me too many Zelda games.
Yeah. Yeah, no, very true. I guess, it's more that I think that they would want to bolster, like get system sales saying up instead of like putting 2 of them in one spot, have one of them in holiday and then the other one in the next summer or something like that, just to keep system sales going well or whatever.
That really just depends on how much bandwidth they have dedicated to Zelda in general, and how much they have overall in terms of like who's working on what. Because like, just because these games are coming out now doesn't mean that they don't have anything in the chamber for 2020.
Yeah, right. No, for sure. I mean, they're definitely working on something, it seems like. And there's that Monolith thing that Game Explain, at least John from Game Explain, seems to think is probably they're making their own Zelda game, that Monolith is, which would be very interesting, and I would be definitely down for that. In addition to, whatever other Zelda games are going. Man, it's just, there's a lot of Zelda all of a sudden. It's also possible this is, the Link to the Past thing is something, I don't know, isn't like an actual, like a Link to the Past game, but is something, I don't know, something different, no, because I think the way it was listed seems like it was a game for Switch.
Yeah. I think it was listed like a game for Switch because it was like in the same category as like the Metroid Prime trilogy and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. So that's...
And it's not like a virtual console thing because they don't sell virtual console games at Best Buy.
That's what I was thinking is maybe if for some reason they decide for that one to do something like that, where like, but that still doesn't really make any sense. And I mean, it definitely, SNES stuff does seem like that's probably coming pretty soon in general, just because for one thing, I mean, I don't know if that would be an E3 thing or a before E3 kind of thing or something like that. But one of the other news bits that I almost put in here but didn't was that in Japan, Nintendo was like handing out pamphlets for Nintendo Switch Online, and at the bottom of one of them it said something to the effect of like NES games, or, I mean, you know, one of the promotional bits is NES games are being added monthly, but then somewhere towards the bottom it also mentions like, but that's going to stop at some point in time, which makes sense. At some point they would run out of games regardless, but also it feels like they're pretty much used up all of their like first party main games, especially now that Super Mario Bros. 2 has come out, and I don't know, they'll always find some new ones to come out of the woodwork, but it feels like at that point probably SNES is right around the corner pretty shortly, and Link to the Past kind of fits in with that. Yeah, so it's interesting. But yeah, the other Zelda stuff is that Stealth again, our good friends over on Twitter, mentioned that he'd heard Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD were coming, which that's interesting and would be really cool because I would very much like to play those on Switch.
Yeah, like I feel like one thing that they like lost in their transition from Wii U to Switch is like Wii U had like this distinction of like every Zelda game is on this thing.
Yeah, right.
But Switch doesn't have that. It just has Breath of the Wild. Gross. You know?
Yeah, that really is it, isn't it? I mean, besides, yeah,
Hyrule Warriors.
Exactly right.
What are you going to do with that? Hashtag free product.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, I mean, that's at some point it seems like all those should be coming over. It'll still probably be a while before Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, because N64 stuff probably isn't going to be here until, I don't know. Do you think N64 Classic's coming out? I think N64 Classic's coming out this year, probably.
If they even do that, like from what Reggie said, and maybe they just stopped telling him stuff. Maybe he was like, I'm retiring this year. And they're like, all right, well, you don't get any more information. This is your cutoff point. But he doesn't sound like they want to do that anymore. It seems like they're going all in on Switch in terms of like where their classic games are going to be heading.
Yeah. Which would be great. Both and. I mean, I would love to have an N64 Classic, but I would also love to have N64 games sooner rather than later on Switch. So, you know, whichever of those, I'd be fine with both of those. I think what I don't want is no N64 Classic, and also they take 3 years to put N64 games on Switch, because that would be sad.
I'd be fine if they didn't.
Because you are a horrible person. Yeah, you're depriving everybody else of joy just for yourself, and it's okay.
Hey man, I'm just trying to save you guys some money. X64 is not that great. There's a couple standouts. You know what I mean?
Which ones for you are the standouts? Just out of curiosity.
The 2D ones, and maybe Mario 64. I guess the original Smash Brothers for,
I'm trying to think.
The history, you know, like the like not Super Paper Mario.
Okay, right,
like
yeah.
That game. Kirby.
There's a
there's a Kirby game on there.
I guess Yoshi's Story. I mean,
you can go without that one.
I actually haven't played Yoshi's Story, so
yeah, you can skip that one.
Yep.
There's not that many, man.
Alive. No, I
guess Mario Kart, but like
it's definitely not my favorite Mario Kart. I will say that. I went back to.
I would say if you're gonna play Mario Kart on 64, just play battle mode, because that's like the N64 thing that I would say is still like the best version of that. Mm-hmm. Like Block Fort on N64. That's peak Mario Party battle. I mean, Mario Kart. Oh, Mario Party.
Yeah.
You play that. Those aren't 2D, but they're good.
What about Smash?
if you're a history buff, if you want to look back and say, look at how far we've come, then sure, why not? But like, if you want to play games that are good, maybe not. You know what I mean?
Man, no, I mean, the N64 is my first home console, so I just have lots of fondness for it. But yeah, I mean, I know you and Bob both don't love like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask and stuff like that, but those and Super Mario 64, like, man, I'd play Super Mario 64 all day long. It's funny though, because I didn't realize how like kind of glitchy it was until I went back and played it, I don't know, like a couple of years ago, because I'd played it a bunch as a kid and then just hadn't played it for a long time. And yeah, played it again a couple of years ago. And even just on the original hardware and stuff, there's just some bits where it's like, well, that's running at 10 frames a second. That's really fun. Which is just...
Yeah. I mean, that's just an interesting thing for older games in general, because like before, like nobody looked at NES or SNES or N64 and been like, man, the frame rate on this is terrible.
Right.
Like
it was called slowdown at that point.
Exactly.
And it was like a feature.
Slow down then. Exactly. Like people get mad that like slowdown is removed from Mega Man games.
Yep. Yeah, and like Gradius and stuff like that, like shooting type games, because just like, no, that's how we're used to playing it, which I mean makes sense. You know, if you're used to playing it a certain way, and the whole reason you're playing older games is for nostalgia, then you don't want to play it a way that it wasn't, you know, you weren't used to having it played.
That said, don't play N64. It's not that great.
I'd be curious to have somebody, actually, you know, I don't know if my wife's ever played any N64 stuff, so I'd be curious to have her try, I don't know, Super Mario 64, something like
just
that.
Hand her that controller.
Oh man,
just hand her the controller.
I
and
do wonder how
like,
they would. I feel like they've got to, if they do the N64 Classic, they've got to do it with the original controller. But man, alive, like that is not.
And you're playing with smaller versions of them at that.
Yeah,
probably.
That would be very. I mean, and especially because that controller.
It's just not a great idea, guys. It's not a great idea. And what are they going to do? They're going to do 4 control. Dude, how much are we paying for this thing?
Yeah, seriously. I mean, the nice thing is that since there wasn't a whole ton of like, there was some really good third-party support, like Rare stuff, and then
Rare wasn't third party.
Well, sorry, you're right. Which is now third party, I guess, is what I would mean to say.
Right.
And there was like some other third party stuff, but as far as like first party games, they have a fairly solid, I mean, if you like those games, which you excluded, they have a fairly solid, like at some point last year when all the rumors were coming up, I made a list of 21 just first party games that they could pull, and yeah, there was like a solid lineup of 21 games. So they could definitely do that, which would save them money on licensing fees and stuff, so they could spend a little more on the hardware and whatever. But I feel like they would have to do 2 controllers with it and then let you do just buy 2 more controllers separately. Like they just couldn't bundle all 4 controllers in there. And like, yeah, it would be great if they could change the controller. I mean, I love it for nostalgia purposes, but not for actual playing purposes by any means.
Let's just not. Moving on.
But I hope it comes to Switch, and I hope all the other Zeldas come to Switch, like the ones we just talked about, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, and all that stuff. Although they mentioned it would only be coming to the eShop, which is probably great. That works. I don't know, I guess. And then maybe Skyward Sword, have that come out, and then do a bundle of all 3 of them. Twould be wonderful.
Yep. Just put all of them on the Switch.
Yep.
And see, this is the thing. Like, I don't even like all the Zelda games. Again, like, that's another thing of, like, the 2D ones. They're great, but a lot of the 3D ones aren't. You know,
I played Twilight Princess really late. Like, it was actually probably 2016. Yeah, I started playing it 2016, and I really liked it. And there you go. There's the end of that story. I just enjoyed it, but I know it's a more polarizing one for some people. Where it seems like one of the main ones that it did kind of the opposite of, like Wind Waker. A lot of people were down on it and then realized like, oh, this is a great game. Never mind. Whereas Twilight Princess, everybody was like, yeah, it's Zelda, but it looks like cool and grown up and stuff. But then later people decided like, yeah, it's not that great. But I quite enjoyed it. So there's that.
Ew.
So I'd be down to have it come. But I've played it pretty recently, so I'd probably opt towards Wind Waker and some other stuff instead. But
Wait, did you not play Wind Waker?
I have not played Wind Waker. I actually
You're dumb.
So here's the thing. I've
podcast.
got the game. I'd never had it growing up. And so
Oh my God.
I've got a copy on the GameCube that's downstairs that I could play. But at this point, like, I'm just kind of waiting for it to come to. There's a bunch of stuff I'm just waiting to come to Switch, and I've got such a big backlog anyway. I know I'm a horrible person. But I'm very excited about playing it. Like, Arlo was doing a Let's Play of it, and I was like, oh, let me watch a little bit. And, like, watched 2 minutes of it and was like, I'm not going to watch. I don't want to spoil anything for myself. Like, I'd still like to have the fresh experience of it. So there's a lot of catching up that I've got to do in a bunch of different realms. And if that lessens anyone's opinion of me, so be it. But I'm excited to play things in the future when I have the opportunity.
I can't believe this.
I'm not going to let myself be fired for this. That is all. Yep. Any more thoughts on Zelda stuff? Moving on. Okay, cool. So this is just a small article. I didn't really see it many places after the first thing came up about it. There was Target in Australia, which
I didn't even know they had Target.
So funny or something, I don't know. My mom actually grew up in Australia from like ages 4 to 16 or something like that. She was over there.
Oh wow.
And she then came to the States and found out, like, so Target in Australia, maybe it's not the case anymore, but at least when she was growing up, was like the Kmart equivalent, or like
so it was trash.
It was trash. Yeah.
Nobody
it was
goes
like
to Target.
Nobody goes to the Target over there. And it's like, I think they're, at least back in the day, if I remember right, she said their logo was like inverted. Like, it was still red and white, but just like the biggest color was white instead of biggest color being red, and then going in. Doesn't matter.
Dumb.
All that stuff.
No wonder why nobody goes to Target.
So, and then here, obviously, Target is the, slightly more bougie Walmart.
Yeah.
And it's nice and fun and fresh. But in any case, Australian Target put up Red Dead Redemption 2 with Xbox, PS4, and a Nintendo Switch.
I don't trust them.
Thingy. Yeah. And then, so not only do I not really trust that, but then also Gaming Intel was a site that posted about it.
That?
It was, I'll get into that in just a second, but they said, like, we've got exclusive information that says that it is coming to Switch, and then blah blah blah. And they said, like, with E3 coming up, it makes sense. It'll be a big title, something.
Yo, I have exclusive information that Pokemon Love and Hate is coming to Nintendo Switch
tomorrow,
next week. Exclusive information.
So another reason. So the Gaming Intel, that site, I don't know. I remember them from, I could be wrong, maybe I'm mixing up sources, but I'm pretty sure they were the ones back in January when we were going to have, when we thought there was going to be a direct. They were the ones that were like, 100%, we're having a January 10th direct. We heard it. It's going to happen. And it was like, no, that didn't happen. So
yeah, these guys, man, they're talking. No.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't really see, if it happens, dope, awesome, and cool. But I really just don't really see Rockstar putting all of that energy into that. And also because just file size wise, like, we've heard a lot of places that getting a game to run, with lower frame rates, like down to 30 frames per second, 720 dynamic resolution, whatever, I don't know, any of that kind of stuff is not as hard as just, okay, well, you've got 32 gigs to work with, or most of the time 16 gigs to work with. Best of luck. And then, so for this game that already is like, I don't know, like 100 gigs or something like that.
Yeah, it's over 100 gigs.
It's just not really going to happen to get it on there. Logistically speaking, I mean, again, if they do some kind of wizardry and do it, dope.
I think that they could. It could happen. Like, it's not a game that's like impossible to put on the Switch, despite what many people think.
Right.
But I think that would take a lot more time, money, and effort than Rockstar is willing to put in.
Yep.
Especially considering the fact that we don't even have GTA 5 yet.
Yep. And
that's a PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 era game.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that would be a whole lot more likely. And I think it sounds like from the bits of things that we've heard that that's more of a space constraint again than it is anything else,
Yeah.
obviously, because, you know, it ran, like you said, PS3, Xbox 360.
Which even that, like, that game wasn't that big on those consoles. As compared to, like, what is normal on Switch.
Right.
I mean, it's probably more space than they want to have because cartridges for Switch are expensive.
Yep.
But, like, it's Grand Theft Auto. They're going to be able to offset that cost.
Right.
So...
Yeah, I wonder too. I mean, like maybe, you know, Grand Theft Auto and stuff like that. If the Switch Pro kind of thing happens or whatever that is, maybe some of those kinds of games they're saving for a reveal alongside that. I don't know, but that's. I mean, we haven't even heard any rumors specifically of Grand Theft Auto, so it's one of those things that maybe at this point they just don't even care anymore. I wouldn't be surprised, but definitely as far as Red Dead Redemption 2, I don't really see that happening personally, but. We'll see. Next up, other things that are happening. There's really as much as they wanted. There's that news story. Yeah.
I would have never guessed that.
When it first came out, too, I mean, I'm glad that in all of their discussions and whatnot, they did explain that the toy to life part is cool, but it's not like you don't need to get the toys, and that they did the digital only version as well. Like that was smart on their side. But I think just the fact that, I'll mention what they said in any case. It was that, actually here, let me pull up the actual interview and I'll just read some bits of it because it seemed kind of interesting. It's not super long either. So it was, I don't see, it's an update. Okay. It wasn't from a specific person. I was going to say if it was someone specific, then I was going to read their name, but so thank you so much for the warm response to the new Starlink content announced during the February Nintendo Direct. With the announcement of new content arriving this April, we felt it is important to provide an update on the physical toys. Starlink Battle for Atlas has been a passion project for us from the start, and we are incredibly proud of the modular Starship technology we have developed and how well players responded to it. Despite the immense and continuous support from our players, the sales of Starlink Battle for Atlas fell below expectations. Consequently, we recently made the decision to not release any additional physical toys for the spring update in the future. As part of our effort to do right by our passionate and dedicated community, we are currently hard at work on our biggest update to the game so far and are pleased to tell you that there will be new digital ships, pilots, and weapons to collect. Additionally, there will be a ton of free content to expand your game, such as additional missions, challenges, and new activities to engage in throughout Atlas, including content that was inspired by community suggestions such as outlaw racing. We are very grateful for the support we have received from players around the world and can't wait for everyone to get their hands on our next big update launching this April. So
did you play this game?
I didn't. One of my coworkers did, and he loved it and said it was great. So this is one I think I've got a backlog, so it's not like I'm itching to play it, but I'm just going to keep an eye out for a sale, like a good sale of the digital version, because I'd like to give it a shot and play it. And it seems like the issues that some people had with it, of it being like kind of repetitive or any of that kind of stuff, are typically issues that I don't really care about. Like I'm fine with some of that kind of, if I enjoy the mechanics themselves, I'm just gonna like doing it. Like there was plenty of stuff that I did in Breath of the Wild that was technically repetitive because I did a lot of it, but it was just fun to do, so I didn't really care, you know. So all that to say, yeah, I didn't play it, but I would like to. But I just, it's hard to swallow. Even like I saw somewhere that it's $30 for the starter pack for the physical stuff, which is cool because then you do get those toys and whatnot. But I know that it's missing so much comparatively, even just to the base digital version, that it's like, I don't know, like, you know, is that going to be worth it or not? Like, I don't want to have to buy extra stuff. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, I had really little to no interest in this game before it even came out. Or just like, fine. Like I might get it for the R-Wing, and that's it.
Yeah.
But I ended up not even doing that because like I'm not a huge collector in that regard. Like that's why I'm
same.
Like when the whole Nintendo thing happened, they're like, well, we send out mostly digital stuff. I'm like, okay, cool. I don't care. You know, like,
yeah.
You know, a lot of people like go out of their way to get physical stuff. And I just,
Yeah. I think I've decided that, my strategy right now in any case is the games that I know I'm going to play all the way through and then be pretty much done with them for a while. I will try to get some of those physically. So like, for example, I mean, Breath of the Wild kind of a thing, or like Mario Odyssey or Ys 8, or like any of those ones that's like, I'm going to spend a lot of time playing this for while I'm playing it. Then those ones, yeah, I do like to have physically, because then I can just have this be the game that I put in. But I just don't want to be switching out cartridges for like, I'm not buying physical Smash. Well, I didn't buy physical Smash because I don't want to have to deal with that all the time and bring around the cartridge everywhere and switch it out. And I just want to be able to pick it up and just play it, because that's what's fun. So, yep. I am guessing, and do you assume as well, this is the last Toys to Life game that we'll see pretty much ever?
Yes, even though I am surprised that we never got one from Nintendo. That's kind of that's strange.
Kind of Amiibo Festival, Animal Crossing.
Yeah, but I mean like a real one, like something that's like with the characters that
like Disney
everybody
Infinity
cares about.
You
know, like Animal Crossing is popular, but I don't know too many people that are buying Animal Crossing because like, oh, Isabel's in this game. You know,
right. Maybe now after Smash, but. Not before that,
even
for sure.
That, like,
no, right.
I think that Animal Crossing is more about the experience than the characters. So I just can't see that, even if it was a good game, being like a huge draw of being able to like just the fact that like nobody was really buying those amiibos in and of themselves. Like, there's a lot of people that never owned a Wii U or 3DS or played Smash Brothers for Wii U or 3DS, but they still bought the amiibos because they care about the characters.
Right.
That wasn't really happening so much with the Animal Crossing amiibos, hence why you can get most of them for under $5.
Yep. Hence why I have, I think, maybe 3 of them. Definitely 2. I think I have, I've got Tom Nook and Timmy and Tommy.
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. I have 5.
Good stuff. Yeah,
I have like 3 Isabels.
Are they different or the same?
They're a little different.
Okay. All right. Yeah,
like
I feel like, I mean...
clothes are different or something.
Like you mentioned, it's kind of like... Yeah, it's like an ensemble cast. Sort of like how the show Joey, after Friends finished, and Joey had his own spin-off show, was just awful. Like, true story, one day I was just talking to a friend at school, and I was like, hey... What's the worst show of all? And he was like, Joey? I was like, that is exactly the show I was thinking. Like, I don't even know why the conversation happened, but it just came to mind, and it was not good. But, you know, similarly, it's not that any, like, Isabel or Tom Nook or anybody is bad by themselves, because, I mean, some people love those individual characters, but I think you're right that it's more about the ensemble cast, and, like, they thrive in the community of Animal Crossing, but they're just good on their own. Even though, you know, obviously some people have their favorites, but... Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's like a lot of Pokemon as well are that way. Where like Grimer on his own, kind of like, why? That's
true. But I do think that, like, for instance, Pokken, like putting Charizard in Pokken made a lot of people want to buy Pokken. Yep. You know?
They're definitely,
I don't think there's any characters in Animal Crossing that people are like, Tom Nook's in this?
Right.
Definitely buying it.
Although I was going to say after a long time maybe, but it's been quite a while. So, no, I think you're pretty much right. So all that to say, Starlink is probably not gonna, it would be cool if this new content makes more people buy it. If they put some sales on it again, maybe some people will pick it up again as well. I don't know. I might, we'll just see what happens there. But some other things that we'll have to just see what happens. This one is just kind of in the news recently a little bit, but whatever. Do you think there's going to be a Direct this April?
I don't know. I'm hesitant to like say stuff like that anymore, because like I feel like they say like, yeah, this seems like a good time, and then they see everybody being like, yes, it's definitely happening this month, and Nintendo's like, you guys don't know anything, and then they completely change all of their plans.
I do wonder if ever or whenever or whatever anybody puts out like fake leaks on purpose to like sniff out who is not trustworthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that would be an interesting thing. I feel like I've heard of that kind of thing happening, but that also could just be a bunch of lies or whatever.
Yeah, it sounds like some tinfoil hat type stuff. But,
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't completely surprise me if Nintendo like seeded like fake information.
Or maybe even if not the company, but individuals there maybe would do, like, I don't know if Doug Bowser's like,
Reggie
yeah, exactly.
did
I think some of the stuff is that there would be like a farewell to Reggie within a direct kind of thing or whatever. That would be, I don't know, interesting. Or that he'd get to do a last thing. I think that's something like the things pointing in its favor would be the fact that it's just timing wise, it's 2 months before E3, and I don't know. We just, it's timing wise, it would kind of make sense a little bit. But then again, we know so much stuff for the end of the year that we could just get little, tweets of the information that we don't have, like release dates. We don't really get release dates on their own in directs all that often. Like, it just doesn't really happen. Sometimes it does, but most of the time we'll get completely new stuff in there, or like a big blowout
they don't
on something.
usually they don't usually just say like, and this game that we talked about is coming out on this date anymore. They used to, like the first direct they did that, where it's like, remember Mario Kart 7, that's coming out on this day. And I think we already knew what day was coming out. They were just reminding us, like, hey, remember, this game's coming out on this day. We told you this before, though.
Yep. So, I mean, yeah, a lot of the stuff they could just go ahead and put out in tweets like they did with Yoshi and its date. So, like, stuff that we have coming out this summer. Like, we need to find out about Super Mario Maker 2's release date before E3, because that's just, we're just gonna have to.
You can't announce Mario Maker 2's release date during E3. That's borderline, and it's out now,
right?
Because E3 is also in June.
Yep, exactly. I mean, best case scenario, they give it 2 weeks at that point, and that's it. Because it happens,
which still seems too close.
Yeah, agreed.
For something like that, because like, I mean, Mario's a big deal, but I still think that
they want people to pre-order. Yeah, for sure.
For Mario Maker. Yeah.
Well, speaking of pre-ordering, I got Avengers tickets this week, and that was just a mess of a thing that happened.
I didn't even like that. Completely slipped my mind, because like all the other stuff that's going on, I gotta do this Nintendo stuff. I don't even know if I can talk about the other thing. But I still got to figure that out today. But yeah, so it's like, I wasn't even thinking about that. It's just gonna happen when it happens. Somebody's just gonna be like, hey, you want to see it? I'm like, sure, why not? And then we go see it.
Yeah, I pretty much just like the morning of the second, tickets went up, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And so at like, I don't know, 8:30 or so in the morning, I'd been at work for about an hour and a half at that point, and just popped on there and was like, let me see if I can get some tickets. And it said, you've got more than an hour's wait. And I said, all right, no problem. And then I checked back like an hour and a half later, or I checked back a couple times, but an hour and a half later, the bar had moved like 1/8 of the whole thing. And I was like, goodness gracious, this is so bad. So yeah, needless to say, it took a friggin' long time. But then finally at the end of the day, I just happened to, like, I'd closed out of the window and everything, and I just, pasted the link back in there, and it was like, hey, you're ready, go ahead and buy a ticket. I was like, all right, cool. So it was a bit of a mess at the beginning there, but in any case, so that stuff. And with for the direct, with Reggie leaving, like, I could see them doing something with him or for him, even if it's just a small something, but they could also very well just do that in a YouTube video that they put out. Like, I definitely anticipate they'll do something YouTube video wise for him, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So,
possible.
I don't know.
No comment.
No comment. We will see. But that's about it for the news this week. If something happened on Friday, we missed it because the word can't, time travels, and such.
Let us know in the comments what we missed.
True. But yeah, next up we've got videos to talk about. So the first one of those is your video. We got a bunch of comments.
Yup.
So there you go.
I made a video. And it was about Splatoon.
It sure was.
Because why not? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I will have few things to say on all of this, except for I will just keep bragging that I've played the tutorial and first couple levels of Splatoon 2's campaign. So you're welcome, everybody. for the
Dare you.
right there. But now I've tried it out, so I can give it a shot a little bit more later, which will be good. I'm excited about it. All right, first up, Gazensha Fox says, I actually think I want some sort of side game before Splatoon 3. Lots of directions that I'd be interested in there. With Splatoon 3, I'm honestly not sure what the biggest change I'd want, but a late-to-the-party Battle Royale mode feels like a safe prediction considering the late-to-the-party Horde mode that was Salmon Run. And I don't know what the mind is doing there. That's okay. Mind and at least one additional ranked mode would be good too, and also feel like a safe bet, even if it came 6 months post-launch like Clam Blitz came. The Splatoon esports scene is great to watch generally. I think I started with the European Championship 2018. This season I followed the UK qualifying tournaments, not closely, for this year's European Championships, which is one of the 4 qualifiers for the World Championships you mentioned.
Yeah, like I saw a lot of that stuff for like, because I follow the Nintendo UK Twitters and YouTubes and all that stuff. So I saw that they were doing that, like, obviously all over the place because they're doing the World Championships at E3, at or around E3. So yeah, I've always, like, during like the 3DS days, I wanted them to do like a smaller, like maybe even 2D platformer for Splatoon, just because like it feels like that sort of game where
make a universe out of it, not just
releases.
Yeah, right. That would a 2D platformer would be cool for I mean, yeah, they do 2D platforms for all sorts of stuff, but you know, implementing some of the mechanics from Super Smash Bros. And the way that they've done the Inklings in 2D, I feel like would work really well. But then, you know, you're getting through, because I mean, honestly, the platforming in and of itself of just the single player, and I mean also the multiplayer of Splatoon, because that's, you know, part of just world traversal and stuff, but the traversal is just fun in and of itself. So doing something around that would be really cool. Right.
And I feel like there's a lot that they could do with that.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of ways that they can toy with it. Because like if you could make a like, how many 2D Mario games do we have?
Yeah, seriously.
And for the most part, his core abilities are jumping, and that's it. So like we're adding 2 more mechanics to that equation, so they can make some cool stuff with that.
No, yeah, that would be super cool. There's probably some other cool things that they could do, but we'll probably find out about those maybe in some of these other comments. Grimhane, I think you touched on it. You certainly alluded to it at the start, but I would love a single player mode that actually teaches you the objectives of the multiplayer modes. Right now, the single player goes about as far as teaching you new weapons and maybe some tricks you can use in a multiplayer mode. But I wouldn't have any idea what I'm doing in the non-turf war modes without humans telling me about them. And no, the little blurbs in game don't count. That doesn't give you a proper feel for the match without the feeling of letting down your team. Add to this Nintendo's absolute refusal to add voice chat to the system itself, which means voice chat won't happen outside of actual friends, and those entering the game are just going to feel constantly frustrated because there's nothing teaching them how to improve. It's like giving a blind man all the parts to make a ladder and then putting food out of reach without using said ladder and telling him to go at it. Sure, eventually he'd get to that food, except in this case, there's a ton of other games offering full course meals and handing you a fork and a knife. My apologies for the rough metaphors. This is what happens when I don't get my Directly to You podcast on YouTube. Smiley face.
Yeah, I like it's weird that they don't do that. Like there's parts of the story mode where you do turf war. But like Turf War, everybody played Turf War. It's literally regular mode,
right?
Like that's what they call that. So they do need to pepper more throughout the game of like, this is a Rainmaker match, and this is Clam Blitz, and this is, you know, like all the tower control.
Especially because
they might have a tower control mission.
The Turf War is the most straightforward, you know, style by far. Anyway, I mean, at least from, you know, what I've played and seen and stuff, is that, I mean, essentially, you know, it's like, hey, take what you've learned about the mechanics of it and, you know, shooting the ground and shooting enemies, and then just do that and try to shoot as much ground and as many enemies as you can. There you go. Right. You know, whereas like the other ones have extra stuff on top of it. So like if anything needs to be actually taught to you, it's probably those things. And I was actually assuming like that when you first go into the multiplayer stuff, that in the same way you had a tutorial right at the beginning of the game, it was going to do that for you. So interesting to hear that they don't even do that. Way to go, Nintendo, making crazy weird decisions. But yeah, no, that would be very good.
Yeah, just we need exposure. We need more exposure to these modes, and there needs to be more of a reason to play them, because there's a lot of people that like just completely cut that part of the game off because they don't want to deal with the whole like punishment of like, you just lost your rank and you don't even know how to play this game yet. You know, like that whole thing. So they need a better way to onboard you into that side of the game.
I mean, and kind of like, obviously the ranked stuff is much better than the GSP online stuff for Smash.
Is it?
I don't know. That was kind of an assumption that I was making.
Yeah, I don't know if it is. I feel like it's better in that regard, where GSP kind of like is more so on the side of trying to make you feel good about yourself, even if you suck. You know. Like, because you can have a GSP of 10,000, and according to the game, you're better than 10,000 other people. That's a lot of people to be better than.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, 10,000 GSP is still pretty bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But with Splatoon, it's more of a thing of like, you have a C-, and now you have a C- with the crack, which means that you might be able to drop down to a D. Who knows?
Yeah.
You know, like that sort of thing.
Well, I guess I more just meant like that the quality of the playing in it is better in any case.
Okay, yeah.
So like, but they don't really, besides, I guess, so you can do local play with, I mean, not split screen local play, but if you've got multiple switches, you can do local play, right?
Like a whole thing. Like that's too many hurdles to jump through.
And like,
because you gotta have 8 switches locally.
So do you really have to have 8 to be able to do it at all? Like, you can't play against CPUs at all?
You could do like, no, they don't have like bots. Yeah, it's pretty dumb.
Interesting. I mean, I wonder, is it just because the AI for that is too complicated? No, because they do.
I don't think so, because they do it in story mode.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
you do turf wars against.
So because that's, I mean, I think that is a big hurdle, is just not being able to. There was earlier on when I first found out about the game, I was like, I'll just get it and have a friend over and we'll just try it together and stuff. And then finding out that we would both need to get it was just a way bigger hurdle than like, I don't know, because I don't know if I can convince my friend to also want to try it out, you know, like that kind of stuff. So that's definitely a hurdle. And like, if they should probably also just have kind of equivalent to, or maybe they do and I just don't know, but like arena mode kind of thing. But where it's like, yeah, just
you mean like battle arenas? Yeah, you can do like private matches where you invite other people.
And then can you do,
but again, like that's thing.
Yeah, for sure.
But can you do what?
Can you pick like what mode and stuff as well in that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's cool. At least then, never mind. They're a little smarter than I gave them credit for.
It's also just a thing of even getting 8 people online to be like, hey, since you can't communicate with them through the Switch, it's harder to be like, hey, I'm opening a private match of Turf War or whatever. Let's all jump in.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's a thing. But yeah, good comment, Grimhane. You made some very good points that I agree with. Cool. Brian Jedi 82 says, I'm not the biggest online shooter fan, more of a single player or co-op multiplayer like Resident Evil 5 or Gears. I really want them to make a campaign mode with more cohesive levels. I want it to be at real locations in the game's universe, not a bunch of random platforms floating in space. I also want this mode to be co-op.
Yeah, that would be dope. Because like that was something that I didn't like that much about the first Splatoon. I feel like this one is better at making single player matter more, just because of the Octopass. I mean, Octopass.
True.
The freaking Octo expansion.
Yeah.
It's way better at that because there's a lot more single player content than there was before. Before it was like 28 single player levels or something like that, and then that was it. So in that way, it's better, but it is like all this like disjointed, like jump from one place to the next thing, and like how you transition even within the level is you squid jump there because you got to the checkpoint, like that whole thing. It's not like, okay, I'm here because I walked here, like a platformer, like a Mario or like a Ratchet and Clank even. So yeah, it would be neat if they did do that, where it's like they made it like this fully realized like sandbox rather than like these really small sandboxes.
I mean, right now it's kind of more like Mario Galaxy compared to, Mario Odyssey or whatever.
Right.
And I do wonder, I mean, but if you've got a lot of, in the same way that Mario Odyssey, if you've got a lot of objectives all over that sandbox, then like, yeah, you're good to go. You got a ton of stuff to go do. But if it's like, all right, pick your one way or pick whatever way you want to get to that one place over there, then it could be a little bit less exciting because then, it could be pretty easy to get over there, I guess. I don't know. But if there's whatever all those different objectives are, then that would be cool.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, like, traversal is so fun in the game.
Yeah.
But they're limiting it by making a big portion of it just jump to the next part.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it definitely is like, it does feel like, and this wall here is that you have to climb this wall, but there's a little bit of an obstacle because this part right here, you can't spray anything on and all that kind of stuff, as opposed to, it being more up to the player, which, I mean, makes sense because that's part of what the multiplayer is how you want to traverse through all that kind of stuff. But, I think it's definitely a game for sure that the multiplayer is their main focus, and then they made the single player great to be able to teach you how to do the multiplayer stuff, as opposed to it being focused on like, let's make the single player just like, completely amazing on itself or whatever. I don't know. But again, I haven't played all the single player, so I can't say that with any real opinions. That's just my impressions. So there you go. Wolf says new weapons, skins, or weapon skins, loot boxes, and emotes. ...
Everybody would hate that. I'm 99.9% sure that was a troll comment. But yeah, everybody would hate that so much if they put any of that in Splatoon. Maybe the weapon skins and emotes people would be fine with if you didn't have to pay for them.
Yeah.
But I doubt that, Yeah. So no, don't do that.
Agreed. Randy Sprunger says, 1, get rid of map game mode rotations. Every map should be playable at any time, and every game mode should have an unranked and ranked version. The biggest annoyance is in returning to Splatoon 2, besides the unskippable news. Oh, is that not skippable every time?
Nope.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so I had that first time, and I was like...
It's so dumb, because you can see everything that they're going to say, not only when you're about to play the game, but, like, you can just check it on the app if you need, if for whatever reason you need to know before you turn the game on. You can look at it in the app. So I don't understand. I guess it's just there just so you can, like, haha, they're banter, like they talk to each other and they goof, like whatever, dude. But like, let me skip it because I never read anything that they say.
Man alive. Yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, besides the unskippable news, the biggest annoyance returning Splatoon 2 is not being able to play Salmon Run or only being able to play Clam Blitz. Number 2, weapon loadouts need to be customizable. Just let the players choose their sub, special, and colors with stickers. Number 3, Salmon Run needs improvement. It needs a solo mode, an endless mode, new bosses and maps, and weapon upgrades to help scale with difficulty.
Okay, so the first thing, I agree with that. They should get rid of that. I think that a lot of people are hung up on, like, and we'll get to that with the next comment. A lot of people are so hung up on what they're given that they assume that that's the only way that this could work, where it's like, but if they don't give us map rotations, how are people going to play on maps? Nobody's going to know what to pick if they don't tell us what to pick, and they could even just do like what the Halo games used to do. They might still do it, where it's like they give you an option of like 4 maps every match or whatever, and everybody votes which one you go to. They could just do that. Mario Kart does that, where you can vote on which map you go to.
So it picks you up, it like sets you up with people, and then you pick the map from there. And at least then it feels like even if you don't get the one you want, you at least have some kind of say in it.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, they could do that.
I mean, or even do what like kind of some MMOs do or whatever, where they're like, oh, there's, 50,000 people in this one instance of a world, and there's only 20,000 people in this other instance of a world. Whereas in that one,
that's the thing that I think a lot of people are like, they don't believe would be sustainable. Because for whatever reason, they assume that like if you give people the option to do everything, nobody's going to like all gather in one place enough to play one mode. Where already as is, the amount of players that you need to do anything in Splatoon is a very low amount compared to most other multiplayer games like this.
Right.
But yet somehow they can afford options. You know, like a lot of these games are 16, 32, 64 players in a match, but still somehow they're able to give their players options. So if we only need 8 people, why can't we have options?
Yeah.
And there's 8 million copies of this game sold.
Yep.
So like, you know what I mean?
No, absolutely. Yeah. It seems like at this point they had a fear of how it was going to turn out and wanted to skew away from that. And so just leaned into their solution for it, which I mean is a decent solution if you have a small player base, but then haven't reaccommodated for like, oh, we've got plenty of people then just, be like, oh, it'll be fine. Just let them pick. And then I think people would also understand if they're afraid because down the road they might have to go back to this or something like that. They don't want to switch it up for now and then go back. I think if people would understand if 3 years from now, not that many people are playing, so then they have to force people into being in the same one. Right. Like it would be fine. It's no big deal. But
and it could even just be a thing of like how Smash Brothers does it, where it's preferred, and like if they can't find people within a reasonable amount of time, they put you in the thing that they can get you in. But at least this way you have some semblance of control over what you do and when you do it. As far as the weapon loadouts, I don't know about that. That might be more complicated. Again, I don't know. But as far as balancing
what would
goes,
be the issue with that? Okay, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is just balancing.
Like if you're able to have whatever you want, it would be a lot more likely that so many people will gravitate to just those versions, like that version of the charger or the shooters or the rollers, where it's like, this is the one everybody's going to use because it's just the best combination.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know if they would do that for that reason. Granted, they kind of let you have the loadout that you want with gear because you can wipe it and stuff like that. And that's just like part of the grind. Which, I mean, that's another thing of like, I don't know if they will let you do that just because they want you to have that carrot on the stick, as it were, of like, this is how you get to the next part of this game is by earning enough points to scrub this, to take that and put this on there. And then you have the loadout that you want for that one specific piece of gear. And that takes X amount of hours to do for each piece of gear to have exactly what you want on there. So on that level, I would be down, but I don't know if they would be able to like do that well. Salmon Run, solo mode would be cool. Endless mode, sure, why not? New bosses, yes. They do that. Well, I don't know about the new bosses thing, how often they do that, but they do new maps every once in a while. Weapon upgrades to help scale with difficulty. I don't know what he means by weapon upgrades.
I guess like throughout it, because like it's getting harder and harder, the people that are coming, so you would upgrade your weapons like throughout the thing, but then that kind of defeats the purpose of, at least it seems like to me, that defeats the purpose of having it be harder the longer you're in it, because then it would just stay pretty easy, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, like a little bit of upgrade, I guess would be fine, where it's like, as you're going, again, I don't know how the weapons work at all in this game, but, say you've got some kind of shotgun type thing or something, and then you get a little bit of an upgrade, so it's 10% better, but then the enemies are getting 30% harder in the next bit or something along those lines. Like that, would make sense, where it feels like you're at least being helped out a little bit and you're getting stronger throughout the thing, but then you do have to, in the endless mode especially, that would make sense.
Yeah, like if they did like an endless mode, I can see them doing like the weapon upgrades thing. But just in like how it is, and maybe solo mode too, like to help offset like how much harder it is to do that by yourself. But as is right now, I just can't see that working. The one thing about Salmon Run that keeps me away from that mode a lot is like if there's just a set of weapons that like I just don't like. Like there's usually at least half of the weapons. It's like, I'm fine with these weapons, I'll play it. But there's like those 2 times out of 10 where there's just like a set of weapons that's like, I don't like any of these, so I'm just not going to play it.
Yeah, right.
So like I wish that you could, again, like that's another part of the game that I wish you could set your preferred weapon choice. So like if you just so happen to be in a group of people that prefer the other weapons that you don't like, then everybody's happy. But again, like that seems like the thing that is part of the challenge to them. It's forcing you to use weapons that you're not comfortable with. So, meh,
as they say. They do say that. Yeah, cool. And then the last comment is from Inkvader Metanicknight. Dope. Nice. So I am sorry for being rash, but first off, all deathmatch in Splatoon 2 would not work at all. It's a team-based game, and shifting the focus to only kills would be boring because 1 point, one team would just camp the other out. It does not fit Splatoon. Same goes for Battle Royale, in my opinion. This game is very team-based. The CP community itself wishes for A, dedicated servers, B, more recent and better research patches, and 3, a better ranked system. But to be fair, I think your ideas for split-screen multiplayer were neat.
I disagree. I think that this guy probably never played an actual shooting game outside of Splatoon before. Because, like, it's not like camping... For one, it's not like camping is exclusive to Splatoon. That's just a thing that happens in games, period. It happens in Smash Brothers. People camp at Smash Brothers.
Yeah, right.
And as far as like Splatoon being a team-based game, Splatoon is not inherently a team-based game. The game types that they currently have are team-based.
Right.
The mechanics of Splatoon are not team-based. If it was, it would be Kirby Star Allies, even in single player, where you would always have a teammate, which you do not.
Right.
So I disagree with that. I think that like the idea of like I just want it to be what it is and like that's it is nah.
Isn't that like, what this whole what the whole channel's about though?
Yeah, just saying, you know, this game, I just want them to keep doing the same thing. They're doing great.
Yep. Ta-da.
Yeah. But as far as that other stuff like dedicated servers, why? I don't think I've ever dropped a game in Splatoon. That's not true. I dropped literally one game ever in Splatoon 1 and 2, and that was when I was playing with Dan, and it was we got on the video. That's the only time I've ever lost connection in Splatoon. And I put a lot of hours into Splatoon, like easily 100 hours in the second one, and like over 300 hours in the first one.
Yeah.
Never dropped a game, so I don't think that's necessary. I think you just probably need better internet, because like better like dedicated servers wouldn't solve that. You would just lose connection to the server rather than your peers.
I mean, it's possible too. I think sometimes stuff around dedicated servers and all that conversation is sometimes just one of those things that it's like, we just want dedicated servers. And it's not necessarily always based off specific instances, but just one of those like, well, I think it's important that we have it because that's what games should have, kind of a thing, which I can't say at all for in this situation.
9 times out of 10, like, at least when I hear people say that, it's not the best solution. Like, a lot of people want dedicated servers for Smash Brothers, but what fighting game do you know of that has dedicated servers?
Right.
Like, none. And it's because that adds an extra step to the whole situation, and it's not as good as peer-to-peer would be. In this situation, like, dedicated servers wouldn't be any worse, but I just don't think that connectivity issues are at large a problem for Splatoon.
Right, yeah. It doesn't seem like it, because otherwise we would have, I feel like, as having not been in the community, I would have heard about it more just at all, and I really haven't. To be honest, I
think that the only thing that theoretically dedicated servers could do is help with anti-cheat, but it just doesn't seem like something that Nintendo is big on anyway.
Is that happening still a lot? Do you know?
I haven't really seen that much cheating when I play Splatoon, but apparently it's a major issue.
Yeah, I mean, in that case, that would be a good reason for dedicated servers then, like you said. And also then you could have cloud backup saves and that kind of stuff, because you can't right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's true. So, like, as far as for connectivity, I don't know about that. But, like, if we're talking about for the anti-cheat and, like, also the the cloud save thing, yeah, sure, why not?
Yep. Absolutely. But yeah, and then like you said, the split screen multiplayer thing was neat. I agree. I think that would just help sell people on it too. I think just giving more options is never a bad thing. So just do it,
Yeah, there's nothing, like, at first the whole excuse was like, but you need your own screen for Splatoon, because then you gotta, like, you can't see the ink and where you gotta go and stuff like that. But then they put it on Switch and they're like, oh, well, remember when we said can't do it without the gamepad? We're doing it without the gamepad.
Right, yeah.
So, like, there's no real reason why they can't do split screen. I guess there's maybe an argument on the technical side, because Splatoon, I don't think already runs at like 1080 60. It might, but I don't think so.
I don't know. Yeah.
It is definitely not like an easy thing, because I know, like, when they first were previewing it, like at the Nintendo Switch presentation event thing, it wasn't running at what it runs at now.
Gotcha.
So they would definitely need to, like, adjust for the extra screens.
Yeah. But
it'd be possible.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember hearing conversations when Splatoon 2 was announced, and everybody was like, how are they going to put that on Switch? Because you don't have the second screen. Like, that's so important. And so the second screen just had the mini map that showed what ink was where. Is that right?
Yep. And you could see, like, your teammates, and
cool.
You could jump to them by tapping on the screen.
But that's like up in the corner now instead?
Or just you press a button and then it's like an overlay on top of what's going on, and then instead of using the touchscreen, you could use motion to move it over, or you could just move your analog stick. That said, I do prefer the second screen for that, because you could just look at it and say, oh, he's right there, tap that, or say, oh, we need to cover up here or whatever. Like, you don't have to press the button and then, like, oh, it's in my way now, or I gotta press the button again to make it go away.
Right.
It was better for that, but I don't think that it was, like, obviously it wasn't, like, imperative.
Yeah. I mean, but it is for Super Mario Maker, because there's no way we're getting that without the
how could you ever I never understood that. Like, I never understood everybody saying that, like, how could you do Mario Maker without a stylus? Like, what? Is it 2007 again? Did the iPhone just come out?
Man, do you remember PDAs? That was a thing. Those had styluses. Yeah. My dad had a PDA, and I was like, wow, that's so cool.
That was, like, a big thing of why people, like, when the iPhone first came out, like, this doesn't even have a stylus.
Do you expect me to use my finger? No way.
Yeah, it's like, my finger wouldn't work.
Lo and behold, here we are.
There we go.
But yeah, any more thoughts on Splatoon 2 and all that stuff?
Do all the things I said to do.
Do all the things you said to do, Nintendo. Come on. Get it right.
Yeah. What are you doing?
Nice. Well, cool. Moving on to the next thing. I made a video this week that was a little different than the other videos that I've been...
You made your first big boy video.
True. And the editing did take substantially longer. So I'm glad I'd written out the script well in advance. So that was good. But yeah, it was a good bunch of fun, and it was fun writing the script and all that. So I'm excited about doing more of those. I've got a bunch of ideas for them down the road. But also, I think this one, the reason I wanted to do this one first too was just because I think it should set up other topics fairly well, so I can kind of point back to this one here and there.
Yeah, you could be like, I mentioned 1080.
Yeah.
This is why I'm talking about it now, you know, like
exactly.
That.
So it just made sense to do that before I did any of the other ones, because it was just an idea that I had that I was like, and I feel like this has been on my mind for a long time as well. So probably the first bunch of videos will be stuff like that, and then it'll be like, oh, I've ran out of backlog of ideas, so just gonna have to figure them out as we go.
Yeah, I do that a lot. Probably my next video, spoilers, is probably gonna be the one, you know, I did at the beginning of the year, the Q1. We're gonna do Q2 now.
Nice,
because it's Q2.
It surely is. That's yeah. I do wonder if we have a direct and that would change any of that stuff, but we'll find out. That is all. But yeah, so QBD. Some comments on if for some reason you're listening to this podcast but didn't watch the video. First of all, go watch our videos. They're fun and we have a good old time. But the context of the video was why I think the Switch is a perfect console and the perfect timing to bring back some dead franchises. And like revive stuff and whatnot. So that said, Justin, our good friend Justin, said Mother and F-Zero are easy goes for me if done right. Mother should be using the art style / engine that Link's Awakening is getting. F-Zero needs to personally move away from racing, or racing only, and get more Falcon brawling, evil race fixing mobsters, lol. Star Fox is a little weird because if Starlink was just a Star Fox game and focused on just the Star Fox team, it would have been most of what I wanted in a new Star Fox game. I think some of those franchises just need new entries like Strikers, while some could do with a complete revamp. If 1080 went crazy with tricks and off-the-wall characters like SSX, I would be down. Sadly, when those extreme sports, quote-unquote, get too realistic, they just get stale, in my opinion.
Yeah. Also, like, 1080, like, I wonder if that could even work now, you know?
In what context?
Like, before, snowboarding and skating and all that stuff, like, was way more cool.
That's true.
You know? Like, Tony Hawk was, like, one of the biggest celebrities in the world. And that's just because skateboarding was so cool. But now it's like, skateboarding's a thing some people do. You know, Casey Neistat has a boosted board. That's neat, I guess, you know, but it's not like the thing, you know? Like, you don't see, like, skateboarders getting $50 million Nike sponsorships,
right.
You know? Like, so, or snowboarders for that matter.
I mean, Shaun White, he's a guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, he exists, but, like, when's the last time you saw that guy on a cereal box? You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a great point. And I wonder, I don't know. I honestly, so I might have told this story on here before. I don't remember. When I finally got to get a GameCube, which was like 2 years after launch or whatever, I was hoping to get one of like a bunch of games for it, and for some reason I was mostly looking for SSX because that was like the first game I ever played on GameCube and was just excited about that, and went to the store, bought a GameCube, and they didn't have SSX, but they had 1080 Avalanche, and I was like, well, I guess I'm getting this. And so I picked that up, and ironically, like, I probably can trace back a lot of my music taste to that game starting stuff off, and ironically I don't like the stuff from there anymore, but it kicked off some stuff like Seether was on there, and that was a thing. I feel
like that's how a lot of people are with like Tony Hawk too.
Yeah, right. I'm nostalgic for that soundtrack, but like, and then I listened to Seether for a little bit and found out like they screamed, and I was like, oh no, they're, you know, that. And then I definitely, like, they're straight up butt rock, but so I don't listen to them at all.
Yo, I gotta tell Bob.
Yeah, but and since then and then after that, like, you know, fast forward a bunch of years, and a lot of the music that I listen to is like, I don't know, technical death metal or whatever is just fun, and progressive metal and stuff like that. So I can trace a good amount back to that, which is just really fun to think about. But within the game context, 1080 was a weird, like, because you're right, Justin. It wasn't like the tricks mode of that was not the main mode and wasn't that great. Like the cool parts about it were the levels where it's just like more just, you know, getting down the mountain and like beating times and that kind of stuff. And you did tricks to get boost type things, I think. I can't remember. So you went faster if you did more tricks, but they weren't also like the main focus like it is in SSX. So I think that's definitely a big sell. But I think especially how you said that extreme sports get stale if they get too realistic, like Steep. Looking at Steep, I was just like, no, that just seems like work. You had to like walk around. I only saw little bits and pieces of it, but it seemed like you had to like walk around, like practically walk back up the hill to get back to the top of a spot. And it's like an open world thing, which is cool, but just doesn't really feel as much like a game. Feels more like, you know, kind of like Red Dead did in some ways, where it's just too much of a simulator, not enough of a game.
Yeah.
I don't know. So that was my thoughts on that.
And 2002, people would have loved a snowboarding simulator because snowboarding was cool, and now it's not.
Yeah, man, I would still... I mean, and I feel like I definitely hear some people talking about how they'd like to see another, you know, skate game or Tony Hawk like or something like that.
Or Skate 4, that's the one we're on.
Yep. It would be really cool. But I think the problem too is, to some degree, like right now, actually, it would probably do pretty well just going back to basics, because with Tony Hawk, they just had to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and like had to kind of like feature creep and power creep and all that kind of stuff. But at this point, just making just a good skateboarding game, I feel like a lot of people would be down for it and would just have a good time and probably get it. But it definitely is more of a niche thing. It's not like it wouldn't be a big blockbuster. It would be, like probably sell 1.5 million copies for like the biggest one, which, depending on their budget, it's not too bad.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Like Nintendo, it's not the first time Nintendo is like, hey, we'll put out this smaller thing. It's going to sell 2 million copies and we're fine with that.
I mean, I guess it does suck because like, Wave Race and 1080, I think, were games that were supposed to look like, wow, these look really cool and like looks like real snowboard, that kind of stuff. Whereas now to be able to pull off those kinds of graphics, it would take a lot of money. So then I don't know if it would be considered smaller titles for them. So, can they afford,
That's a major thing about like Star Fox too, that like it lost because it was that game for them.
Right.
Where it's like, we're the tech leaders. Like nobody's doing this, Metroid on GameCube was like that too.
Yeah. It's odd how some franchises just like that's a thing of theirs, but then just can't really stay with the times at the same time. I mean, like Star Fox is a great example where it was the first one to use the FX chip and stuff. And it's like, wow, it's like 3D games and whatever. But then at some point it's just, now it's just a game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Justin, you had some great other thoughts, but we got to move along. So thank you for all that comment. Feral King says, I know I'm going to get a ton of backlash for this, but wait, words? But whatever. I know I'm going to get a ton of backlash from this, but a good chunk of these dead franchises could do well by taking lessons from Fire Emblem. Then I asked him what he meant. And he said, Awakening was supposed to be the last game in the series, but ended up saving the franchise and the first to hit over 1 million units. Basically, it opened up, made some changes to the formula, and made it accessible to outsiders, such as the option to turn off permadeath and fleshing out characters. Out of the dead franchises, the main one I'm looking at is F-Zero. I feel like it could blow up if the following two things happen. A, since there's a futuristic death race, there needs to be weapons to make your opponents retire out of the race faster. And for the people who don't like that, well, just turn them off. B, flesh out the characters more, give them more personality and story as well, making some waifu husbando worthy. Because let's be honest, who remembers more than 33% of the F-Zero cast?
I think 33% is generous.
Probably so. I thought, I mean, I'm right there with you. I think there's a lot of these where they're, kind of like we were just talking about, and where they're kind of stuck in what they were originally supposed to be and what they wanted to be, rather than looking at like what now they could or should be. And
because like, I feel like, and I don't think Nintendo's like this, but fans are of these series, of these small, like the F-Zeros and stuff like that, for the most part. We're getting the Falcon next. Yeah. And I don't think he's as much like that. But a lot of fans of these like smaller games are like, no, they just need to keep making it what it is. And it's like, no, but like what it is the reason why it's so small. And you may like that it's small, but the company that's financing this game doesn't like that it's small. Right. So they need to do things to make the game bigger.
Yep. If they keep it small, then it's also going to keep just not having new games.
Exactly. It's like, do you want this game to stay how it is? Because if that's the case, then you're not getting any more of this game.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, if you want to see this character more often and these games come out more, then they're going to have to make it into something that's going to sell better. And like that's true for like Star Fox, for instance. Like every time we talk about that, it's like, but Star Fox isn't about that. Star Fox is an on-rail shooter, and it's like, no, it was.
Yeah.
It needs to be more than that. It's 2019. Nobody's paying $60 for on-rail shooters. It's not going to happen.
Yep.
Sorry about it.
Spoilers. That's a little bit what I think either next week's video or another video is going to be about, but something related a little bit to that. Because things. But yeah, no, exactly. I think there's just a lot of games Feral King, your point of Awakening, not like just opening up and, taking off permadeath and that kind of stuff. Decreasing the barrier of entry, I think, is just a really good thing. And I think, this was kind of a conversation that was going on last week that, got talked about a whole bunch on Twitter and stuff, but of games having an easy mode essentially, or something along those lines. I think something along those lines is like just having lowering the barrier of entry to any game is great. But then just,
Oh yeah, we did. You did say that we were gonna.
oh yeah,
We should have did that earlier.
should have.
I'm going to name it the podcast anyway.
Okay.
but yeah, let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
So like, what's your opinion on that whole Sekiro? Like this, like games need an easy mode and so on and so forth and all that stuff.
I think honestly, so my main opinions is that it's not that it should necessarily, because nothing needs to do anything, technically speaking. Like, it's totally fine if they don't want to, and that's it. It's like, all right, do whatever you want to. But at the same time, I think having some kind of, like Celeste did pretty much, where you can turn down certain difficulty sliders, but it does tell you, hey, this isn't the way the game was meant to be played, so just think about it, but then you can do it. However, I think it would be good also to then implement something that, like, if you complete it on the regular difficulty that you're meant to, or whatever, like just the normal one or even a harder one or something like that, then you do get something more out of it, whether that be a little bit more story stuff or like the true ending, or something along those lines. Like, it benefits you to do it the right way. And even if you finish it the easy mode way, it doesn't chastise you for having done that, but it says like, hey, you know what? I bet you could even do it the, regular mode way or something along those lines.
I think that if they were to do that, it's kind of punishing people for not being good at the game. And that's the whole reason why they want the easy mode, is because like they're being punished for not being good at the game. And I think that's it's not accomplishing anything,
Well, I guess, the thing that I would think it's then accomplishing is that you're still getting to see the whole game, even if not. Are
you though? Because you said that like if they do a thing of like if
a
you beat
true
this
ending,
the
a
real
secret
way,
ending,
you'll get
or
the
whatever.
real ending.
For example, Octopath Traveler has like a final secret boss that you finish the game, credits roll, and like, cool, there you go, you did it. But then there's another boss that you can go to that has a boss rush leading up to a final boss that's like super hard. And just like, and
does that boss have like any significance in regards to the story?
Yeah, so it's actually like pretty much the only thing that kind of ties it all, like all the 8 different stories are.
Yeah, so that's messed up.
But it's one of those things where like I was totally fine going in, trying it very barely, being like, all right, I get the gist of this, and then looking it up and being like, there you go, now I know. But then it would give me a lot more feeling of accomplishment or reward to have done it myself. But I don't feel like putting in that amount of time for that, which similarly, I think with something like Sekiro or, a harder game, I just might not want to put in the amount of time that would be required of me to, that said, I was playing Dark Souls recently. I just got sidetracked with other games. So, somebody just might not have the time to put in 150 hours into a game if it's just so brutally hard that they can't get through it, that they would be willing to. I
don't think that needs to be universal, Like, I think games are more than what you want the experience to be. Like, this is like loosely related, but like John Green, like the YouTuber, he's also an author.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, like he talks a lot about how like once a book is out, everybody runs off with like what they think might have happened afterwards or what happened before then, but like what happened is what is on the page.
Right.
So like a game designer could say like, this is how I think the game should be played, but at the end of the day, they can't really control that, Like, it's kind of like how Sakurai fought tooth and nail to be like, no, Smash Brothers is a party game. We're not doing this melee crap anymore. We're putting tripping in the game. Everybody's going to go crazy, and we're playing Mario Party, but it's a fighting game, like that sort of thing. And people were just like, but like, nah, I don't want to play it like that. And then eventually he was like, okay, like, fine. And we'll put in all those options where it's like, you can play it as a party game or as a competitive game. I think there's no reason why a game can't be all things to everybody that wants to play that sort of thing,
Yeah.
Like, I think that it's definitely true that not everything is for everybody. And I think that starts and ends with what the game is in terms of like theming. Like, not everybody's going to want to play Sekiro. Not everybody's going to want to be stabbing people all the time. Not everybody's going to jump around as this frog dinosaur and Yoshi,
Yeah.
But the people that do want to play this game and they don't fit in these small little bubbles, that's like either you're the super hardcore gamer and you get the reason why you're playing this game is because you feel rewarded when you beat that thing that you couldn't beat for the last 7 hours, you know? Not everybody feels that. A lot of times they're frustrated throughout the whole thing, and then when you finally beat it, you're like, I finally beat it. It's not like I felt so good, I earned that. It's, oh my God, like, do I even want to play this anymore? You know? Like, I don't want to have to do that again. But there's parts of the games that they do like about the game, you know?
Yeah.
Or on the other end of the spectrum, like for me with Kirby, I like the character, I like the world, I like the aesthetic, I like all that stuff, but it's so mind-numbingly boring to play through the game because there's no challenge there. Yeah. So like, I feel like difficulty sliders need to be in all games. Like on both sides of the spectrum, because
or at least games that can. There are some games that I feel like I can't really think in Mario Odyssey besides maybe like
they already have one in Mario Odyssey.
Well, that's true. You're right. Yeah, the easy mode version of that. I mean, because I guess a harder mode would just be. I mean, throughout later in the game, there are bits where it's like it's a one-hit KO kind of thing. You have to, isn't there? I think so.
There's always a way. Like if your game has any depth in its mechanics, there's a way to make it both easier and harder. Yeah. That's just a universal law, you know? Because it's like, especially how game design works, where it's like, okay, either we constrain you in your abilities, or we add more enemies to the puzzle, you know, like make it more harder for you to traverse through it. On the other end, we make it easier through either allowing somebody else help you through the game, or make enemies less aggressive, or make platforming less punishing when you die and stuff like that. Like there's just solutions to make everything easier and harder.
Yep.
And I don't think that it's like even that much more work, unless you go the extra mile and you're like, this level is specifically designed as an easy mode of that other level. That I think would be harder, but I don't think that that's necessary.
Right.
Like, even if it was a thing of like adding save states to platformers and stuff like that, like they could do that to make a platformer easier. Or any game, really. It's just like, I don't see any actual reason to not do that.
I think that, I mean, I think the reasons are really just that whether or not the designer of the game like really wants to stick with their guns of what it is,
which is in my mind is pretentious,
right?
To be like, I see this game as this, and that's the only way that it can exist, because in my mind it's this and nothing else.
And then I think the other side of it is just fans for the same kind of thing is like, I know, like, I feel like I accomplished something because I beat Dark Souls on this difficulty setting.
Right.
And someone else is like, oh, I beat Dark Souls too. And you're like, wait, but I'm so much a better gamer than he is. How did he ever do that? And he's like, oh, yep, I beat it on the hard setting too. And it's like, no, really, he beat it on the easiest setting, but, you know, he's not going to tell you, or that kind of thing. So I think it's just like, a pride thing, which is, you know, doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's dumb. Because at the end of the day, like, you can see, even if they wanted to parade that around and, like, you look through their achievements and say, I beat this on the hardest difficulty.
Right.
You know, like, it's that simple.
Yeah.
To be like, you beat it on the real difficulty, you beat it on the easy one, or whatever. That is not that hard to do. Also, I feel like a lot of people don't like the idea of like there being this other way to play this game, even if they're not going to engage with that way, which I think is stupid. It's the most dumb gatekeeper, like elitist thing in the world, and it's gross.
I think somebody did make a good point that's interesting, is that, well, I don't know. It's just an interesting point. I don't know if it's super valid or whatever, but like if somebody that... okay, for example, my friend Mitch, we both played Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and he just like rushed through to the end, and like tons of like big open areas that I would, you know, kind of go through methodically and be like, oh, there's an enemy there, I'm gonna go kill that enemy, and go through and like feel like part of the world and kind of take my time. And he would just like rush past all the monsters, not take any of the time to kill them, because he's like, well, I need to get to the next thing, because for whatever, you know, specific reasons. But but for some people, maybe more like that, where it's like you just want to be able to get to the end because that's what you feel like you want to do. If there's an easier option, they'll just take that, even though that might lessen their enjoyment of the game. But I feel like that's kind of like, no, that's sort of on you, bro. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
if that's going to lessen your experience of the game, it's not
a perfect example of like this sort of setting is like BioWare games like Mass Effect, which I mean, they're not the greatest example for most things and all things that are good currently, but like, and I don't even like Mass Effect. Never really did, even when people thought it was good. But one thing that they do well is that they have this thing of like, you're in it for the story, you're in it for the action and the story, but like, you're not that great, or you're in it for the action, you know, like you care about the story or whatever, but like you want challenge. They just have those 3 difficulty settings, and all like that could apply to all games.
Yeah, right.
That have stories. Obviously, you can't say like you're in Tetris for the story.
Right. No, yeah, I think it's a good point. There's a lot of games that if there's a specific barrier to entry, it would be good to lower that barrier so that just more people can enjoy and experience the game. Or I mean, but sometimes that barrier to entry really is that it's too easy, like Kirby or whatever. So that's
right.
You know, just making the game for more people, ideally, in most situations, is just do it. Yeah, because that's like good.
As many pretentious game designers can say it as they want, to be like, I want my game to be played, blah blah. But if you gave them a check for how many more millions of copies they would sell if they either made their game more mechanically interesting or challenging or whatever, or on the other end of the spectrum, easier, they would take that money. So like, why not just make your game so that it makes that money?
Right.
Know?
Yeah. I think the biggest hurdle is, yeah, like we said, is game designers and the players themselves just not wanting to succumb to what they believe would be a lesser game in that sense.
Not like how my thing was before.
Yeah, which brings us
all
the way,
not even in a way that affects them. You know, like this is optional. Nobody's saying make Dark Souls into Yoshi. Nobody's saying that.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, honestly, and Dark Souls even kind of has an easier mode type thing where you can, if
FromSoft has been going out of their way to make their games easier as time goes on. Just like Pokemon. Like, everybody's like, oh, I don't want the game. I don't want Pokemon, let's go. But they've been working towards making their games easy for forever. Mm-hmm. You know? Yep. Like, so many people are just like missing the point.
Yep. I mean, because, yeah, in Dark Souls, being able to... I mean, there's tons of hard things for sure, but you can also, like, summon other characters and stuff in the game that make it... Like, I felt... I don't know, one of the bosses... early on, I could summon Solaire for the first time, and I summoned 2 different NPCs. I was like, oh, well, let's see what happens if I summon these guys after I, tried the boss a couple of times. And then I just won really easy, and I was like... all right, guess I'm moving on. I felt a little bit bad about it, but I was like, whatever. Like, I'm still, having a good time. So,
yeah.
And that's really what it's about.
It's kind of like the Amiibo thing where it's like, and people are going to say stuff like when Bob was playing Mario Odyssey, he would like sometimes use the Amiibo to like give you more health or whatever it was. I'm like, oh, you suck. Like people are going to like do that. But like at the end of the day, if you're having a hard time with the game, use that assist mode. Who cares?
Yeah. Absolutely. But yeah, so all that is very interesting and brings us kind of back to, I'm going to hop back over to this comment that some games just need to not worry too much about what they historically have been, but instead be what they should be in the future. So like Awakening did with the, changing to permadeath and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, good
comment, Feral King. And the next one, I realized a bunch of these that I picked all had to do with F-Zero, but that wasn't even on purpose. It just kind of happened.
It's because of the thumbnail.
It could be. Falcon said, do I even need to say it? Specifically about which game need reboots. It's F-Zero, in case you were genuinely confused. It all depends on what you mean by successful. Will it put up Mario Kart numbers? Probably not. But I think it could be the best-selling F-Zero game in the series, 4 million plus.
Yeah. Like, nothing's Mario Kart.
Right.
That's like saying, like, will it be Grand Theft Auto? Like, That's a hefty expectation to put on literally anything.
You asking for Grand Theft Auto F-Zero? Is that what the runaround sections are going to be, just going around a town and like beating up people?
That. Sure. Why not?
Yeah.
Let me Falcon punch people out of their cars.
There you go. And just explode the car in the meantime. Like, well, not going to drive that one.
Right.
But yeah,
I can just put in a cheat code. So legit, my little brother, this is a tangent.
Yep.
He's playing Saints Row. And somebody like nicked his car. Like it was like a real small dent. Somebody was driving past him. He got out the car, shot them with a rocket launcher, got back in the car, put in a cheat to fix his car, and drove away. Like, all right. That's like, hilarious. You're a psychopath.
Yep. Not going to touch your car in real life.
Yeah.
Because crazy
tangent over.
Yep. But yeah, great point, Falcon. I also think if they put out a good F-Zero that was new and use some of the things that we've already been talking about in here, then I think it would do great, especially on the Switch right now. Like, so many people have been asking for it, and it would just do really well. So definitely that's a thing. Next up, Teen Kitsune said, back in 2015, I heard somewhere that Shigeru Miyamoto had said the following statement, which was F-Zero has a future on the NX. Of course, NX was the code name for the Switch, went under until its reveal in October 2016. Basically, we were told F-Zero would get a new game on Switch. At this point in time, I'm just waiting with bated breath for the announcement and wondering why it hasn't made yet.
Yeah, I feel like Nintendo is going to eventually just release the floodgates. I think that they just had to like pick the things that matter most to people to try to get them to sell well when they weren't on as successful platforms.
Yep.
But now it's just like you could like it was kind of like what they tried to do with GameCube. Like GameCube just had everything. It was like, oh yeah, put Mario in NBA 2K, sure, why not? Or NBA Streets or whatever, whichever game it was. Stuff like that. I think we'll see that a lot more as the Switch's life cycle moves forward because like the tentpole stuff will already be out and they'll have to work on the next version of that thing. So in the meantime, give us F-Zero, give us that Japanese only samurai game, you know, like give us that.
Yep.
Give us a new Dylan's Rollin' Western.
Yep. Now, there's a ton of games that, I mean, just so many franchises that they've got in the backlog. And I really think, like, I've heard people on both sides of, like, well, the Switch only has, like, 3 years left. And then other people are like, no, I think the Switch is going to be around quite a long time at this point.
I think that it's very, like, there's no real reason to completely kill the Switch just because, like, how it's made, you know, like the architecture of it all and stuff like that. Like they can advance on how, like what the Switch is able to do on a technological level, but also keep it in the same family and make all things compatible moving forward and backward. Well, not forward because, you know, stuff can't run certain things.
Right, yeah.
But like everything, you'll be able to play Breath of the Wild on your Nintendo Swap.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah. And it's, I think it's kind of like the 3DS shows us sort of the trajectory of the Switch where it's been around for 8 years now, and it probably, I mean, this is the year it's going to die, we assume, but you know, they just kept iterating on it, and so I think that's probably just what's going to happen with the Switch too, is they're just going to do stuff on it for a while, and then like you said, I would definitely hope whatever they put out next will be backwards compatible, but that's, I think, is a really far, you know, point down the road. So
it just sounds like Nvidia thinks that they're gonna like be a long time partner.
Yep.
And if that's the case, then everything's going to be backwards compatible.
Yep. Which is dope. So yeah, great point, Team Kitsune. And last up, Carlos L says, I want another Wario Land game with the same art direction as Shake It on Wii and make it co-op and add Waluigi to the mix. I think that would be really cool.
Yo, give him Waluigi his own game.
I agree.
Do that. Give him his own game. Make it Waluigi Land, and Mario's the Luigi.
That would be.
I wonder if Waluigi is like more popular than Wario now. Like after that whole like all the memes.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, it's entirely possible because otherwise they're pretty much equal. Besides, I mean, obviously Wario's had his own franchise, but in recent media they've been about equal.
Before the memes, Wario was like definitely the more famous one because he had WarioWare, he has Wario Land. He's just existed for longer.
Yep.
Maybe they were equal in terms of like I like this one more because they both kind of suck. You know?
Yeah.
But like in terms of like it's just a meme to like Waluigi now. So I think that they could definitely like now's his time. Give him a game. I
very much like I've wanted them to make a Waluigi game since my team at work, we all dressed up as Mario characters for Halloween 2 or 3 years ago. And it was a whole lot of fun. And I've wanted them to make a Waluigi game for a really long time. I remember talking about it at that point too, because one of us was dressed as Waluigi. But like, I don't care what it is, really. Like, unless it's just a genre that I just flat out don't care about at all.
Make it a turn-based strategy game.
Yes, I will buy that game.
Don't do that.
But like, anything that's really silly would just be so good. Even if it's like a bunch of sort of mini games or whatever. Like, I don't know. Like,
they can't do that.
That's my part. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But not, I guess I'm thinking like not mini games in the like micro games type thing like that, but like a turn-based strategy. There's like little turn-based strategy elements.
You're thinking like how like Nier Automata is, where it's like 1 second it's an arcade shoot 'em up, and then the next second it's an action RPG, you know, like that sort of thing.
That kind of a thing, yeah. Where it's just like, it's got a bunch of different things to it because like we don't really want to commit to one thing. We just want to have fun.
Right.
Would be great.
I'd be down.
So, yep. That is all for the comments on those videos. Last up, for the last little bit here, we've got some Q&A, so you can ask these questions on Discord. Sometimes we post on YouTube to ask for them.
I forgot.
That's all right. I thought about reminding you, and then I had a bunch of work to do at work, so I didn't.
Yeah, I've just been thinking about the thing I got to do.
Yep. And yeah, so you can ask us on Discord, sometimes on YouTube, and ask us on Twitter, wherever you want. And there we go. So Q&A. Striker XL asks, what do you think of the latest release from THQ, Darksiders, and what do you think about the high quality and performance mode they implemented? I think it plays very smooth in high quality with 30 frames per second.
I've never played a Darksiders game. I bought the second one, question mark, on the Wii U. And I'd never played it.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
But I think that that's a very smart idea, the performance versus high quality mode. I think that they should do that for all things on Switch or just on everything.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I haven't played it. I'm planning on picking it up. Like I said, I got a big backlog right now, so I'm just going to wait for a sale for it, and then we'll play it when I have time to play it.
I mean, you could probably just email THQ.
True. I did... I don't know, whatever, it doesn't matter. So, in any case, I would like to pick it up eventually, but we will see what happens about that. But in any case, I did watch, I think Spawncast, or Spawnwave, put up a video showing some of the gameplay of it, so I watched that to just check out what it looked like and impressions of it, and it seems like those two modes both work pretty well. And, I mean, again, performance mode seems like an easy go-to, because it, always will run well. But if it runs well in high quality mode, then yeah, of course, like, go with that, because then it looks great too. So, but from what I saw, it does look like, pretty good. It's an older game, but it's a remaster of it, and it looks pretty fresh. So, Striker XL, I'm glad you are enjoying that game, and thanks for following us and all that good stuff. It's always fun having you on. Lizdrin, which Nintendo console could you fit the most spaghetti into?
That depends. Are we talking like, can I like hollow it out? Like, are we?
I'm thinking so.
Are we using the surface area that is the console itself, or are we constrained by like disk drives and cartridge slots and all that? Because like, if we could like hollow it out and just use like the surface area of it, GameCube easy.
Do you think? Is the GameCube more space than the NES? Is surprisingly big, I feel like, and
that's true.
It's kind of long, so like maybe I feel like those two would be pretty close though, for sure. Because that GameCube was my first thought, definitely, but then I was like, the NES is a thing.
Yeah, if you can't hollow it out, then definitely the NES, because I feel like you can fit more spaghetti inside the cartridge slot than you can in the disc drive.
That's true. Maybe even actually, no, yeah, for sure. I agree.
Definitely not the Wii.
Definitely not the Switch.
Possibly the Wii U, possibly, because the Wii U is long.
Yeah, that's true. I have only actually seen... I'm not even going to go into that. Doesn't matter. That Cyber Guy is a good question.
Who's that?
Some weirdo who asks how much we miss him.
I don't even... Who's that?
12. I miss you, 12. Or whatever that's worth.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan.
Bye, Dan.
I had a good time talking to Dan last week. It was a lot of fun.
I didn't talk to Dan last week.
Nope, you sure didn't. You missed out. Crazy Derp asks, will we get a new Pokemon Direct before Nintendo's E3 or after Nintendo's E3, or will it be included in Nintendo's E3 presentation?
I think before. Pokemon's a diva. You know what I mean?
Yeah, pretty much.
They want to have their own space to be like, hey, we're doing this. And then they're like, sure, we'll give you some scraps during E3.
I mean, it's pretty much, it's just routine at this point, it seems like, to have it before E3. We've got more this year about Pokemon than we have other years, I feel like.
Yes, because there was a lot of backlash.
Right, yes. And so that's really good. But also, hopefully they've got, I mean, hopefully Sword and Shield there's more to it than just kind of meets the eye. And then we can find out about that a little bit in the Pokemon Direct beforehand. And they also said they've got more stuff going on this year than just Pokemon Sword and Shield, which could be just the Pokemon movie, or it could be not a whole lot of anything. But probably whatever that is, whether it's a mystery dungeon game or something different, will come out. They would announce that thing beforehand too. And I'd imagine they'll have something in the E3 Direct, but probably won't be a huge bit of it. Yeah, I would just guess. So there you go.
Yeah.
There's my thoughts on that. Grim Haynes says, that cyber guy, we miss you more than the sea misses the shore.
Speak for yourself, Grim Haynes.
That's very cute, Grim Haynes. Thank you so much.
He didn't come to PAX, so he's dead to me.
Yep, pretty much. Doesn't matter. Also, Grim Haynes says, so we all know some employee of Best Buy either leaked or made up some games coming to the Switch. A lot of hype being on the Zelda game. What games from an established franchise would you like on Switch, both from Nintendo themselves and a third party?
I want from Nintendo, give me Pikmin 4. Because why not?
Yep, I want Golden Sun Edition. That is all.
From a third party, can we count Microsoft? Because if we can count Microsoft, sure. I'm going to say Banjo-Kazooie. Give me that.
Yep, solid. Third party for me, I not even for myself so much, but I'll say another Monster Hunter, like a new Switch specific Monster Hunter game. I haven't actually played any of my own besides just the demo for Generations Ultimate, but one of my friends is just obsessed with Monster Hunter, so I know he would get it, and then I would just get it and play with him, I guess, or at least give it a shot. Whereas because he was still playing World, he didn't get Generations Ultimate, so I didn't really see a whole bunch of point in that for just me. But yeah. I'll say that. Because why not?
I played approximately an hour and a half of World.
Nice.
And that entire time was me trying to figure out how to play with Logan. And it was real dumb. And I don't see myself ever buying another Monster Hunter game.
Yep.
But I know other people like them, so sure, why not?
I'm sure there's other third-party stuff, but most of it, a lot of it would be for other people.
One.
Yeah, so there you go. He sure did.
He said, what game?
What one game? That's the one. Last question. Patar35, how's it going? Can y'all read some of Logan's comments in the podcast, even when he's not in the podcast? I would imagine so. Yeah, we didn't this week, because here's the question. But in the future, we'd probably be able to do that. So we'll just have to, I guess, play it by ear, depending on timing and stuff. But I'll leave that up to AJ to decide, probably.
I'm going to say no, because we're not in Logan's mind. So that's it just feels pointless to be like, read a comment that's like specifically like rebutting something that he's saying or commenting on something that he thinks or something like that. And we don't know what he thinks. A lot of times it'll be like them commenting on something that Logan thinks, and we might completely disagree with what Logan had to say. And we're just like further commenting on his video and not agreeing with any of it, you know? So it's like the whole second thoughts part of this would be completely lost by that. That's why we just forgo it completely, because we don't know what he's thinking. Yeah.
And that's why last week we didn't talk about your video, because it was just me and Dan, and I was like, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So good question, Patar, but it's a terrible question, so never ask it again.
Never ask another question again.
Just kidding. Ask questions. But that's it. That's the last question we got. Any last thoughts, AJ?
I'm back. I've returned from the land of the packs, and I'll never leave again until the next pack. And possibly too many games.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right.
That's been episode 57, question mark.
Correct. Exclamation mark.
I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. And don't forget to finish your dinner and give the vegetables to your dog.
Good stuff.
You got any final thoughts?
Eat your vegetables, guys. Don't listen to AJ. He doesn't even know what vegetables are. I tried to tell him once and he was like, nope. So there you go.
I heard that vegetables are a myth.
Could be. Who's to say? Historians, maybe.
Goodbye.
Bye.